We're a weekly gaming podcast where our mission is simple: to bring to light and discuss topics that have an impact on our gaming hobby, and at the same time, highlighting our diverse gamer community, also remaining dedicated to our origins.
Guardian Down.
Join me, ToddtheGatr, and my co-host Kingsleymac as we invite a rotating list of guest co-hosts every week to join us at the Guardian Down Roundtable. And now, let's get to it. What's up, Guardians? Welcome to episode 342 of the newly branded Guardian Down Roundtable. We're a weekly gaming podcast, and our mission is very simple: 4 topics among 4 friends with a focus on our gaming community here in our Discord community and our YouTube and Twitch communities. I call you all Guardians because we have a long history with Bungie and the Destiny franchise. And as our show, which was formerly Guardian Down Cast, has grown to we've been growing for 7 years now, covering this beloved game. We're going to be flying higher. We're going to take like that 30,000-foot view, bringing to you guys the topics surrounding our gaming hobby. Topics including entertainment, the gaming industry, social media, tech, and literally whatever else will impact our love of our gaming hobby. The rules are real simple. Every week, we invite members of our community to join us in the conversation by bringing a topic of their own that they want to share with all of us. My co-host, Mr. Kingsleymac, and I will be here every week, while the other 2 chairs around the table rotate among a list of guest co-hosts handpicked by us. Once per month, though, we invite a brand new member of our community, someone who's been actively involved in our Discord community and has made an impact, and then we hear their story while they also share a topic of their own at the table. You can catch us live every Thursday on my YouTube and Twitch channel at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. That is ToddtheGatr, ToddtheGatr, where we'll also post the replays of the live show after it is aired live. We also have a special video channel in our Discord server called The Live Stage. It's where you can either watch or listen in. And the one thing that we encourage in our live shows is interaction with our chat. So don't hesitate, chime in, give us some of your input on whatever topics we're talking about, and we might actually read it aloud on the show tonight. We are a video and audio podcast, so those of you listening to us right now, I just want to make sure you know that we will explain anything. If there's something visually that you obviously can't see, we'll be sure to visually explain it to you. You're not able to watch the video versions. First, before we get into our introductions for our very first guest co-host tonight, I wanted to say hello to my permanent host, Mr. Kingsleymac. How you been tonight, Mike?
Oh, good. Gosh, did you remember to sign the contract? Because my contract said semi-permanent.
Oh, okay.
So you got to send that new one over to me.
I will. Yeah,
but hey, I'm glad to be here.
Thanks, man. As usual, thank you, sir, for being here every week. We really appreciate you, man. And to introduce our guest co-host for episode 1, technically, of Guardian Down Roundtable, our first guest co-host today was initially on our show back when we heard his story on episode 225 titled A Black Belt in Destiny. He also has a past Roundtable episode he's been a guest on in episode 239, if you want to look those up. So we asked him to join us today with our new show format, and he gladly accepted. He does actually have a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so if you need any info in that department, this guy is your man. Full disclosure, he is part of my weekly raid group, and I find that he is super level-headed whenever learning new raids, and I think he's a great Sherpa as well. He used to also Sherpa new members on dungeon nights back in the day. I mean, we think he's a real asset to our community. So it is for this very reason I wanted him to be on our very first GDR episode from the great state of Texas. It's Mr. RoninRedLion. How you doing tonight, sir?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man. We appreciate you being here tonight. It means a lot. It really does. Okay, our second guest host today is also part of my weekly Raid Fire team, and we heard her story back on episode 281, if you want to go back and listen to that interview. I have to say that this female gamer puts up with a lot of crap every Saturday night, and the dude talk gets a little crazy as the night gets later and later. She has been very instrumental in helping many a Guardian get through their first raids and dungeons, and I'm happy to call her another great asset of our community as well. She won't admit it, but she is also a very good teacher and Sherpa around our Discord community, and even though she won't accept the moderator title, she does so much helping new members find their way around our Discord and our community. So I welcome back from the great state of Idaho. It's Alekate. How are you doing tonight, Kate?
Good evening. Happy to be here.
Thank you again, Kate, for being on tonight. This is going to be a really fun show. What is on the show tonight, you may be asking. So here's what we have lined up for tonight. First, RoninRedLion is going to share his topic to the table concerning the concept of flow state and how gaming has allowed us to reach that crucial state of mind faster than many other areas of our life, including sports. Then it's Kingsleymac turn. He's going to share his topic of the show. And it's about something that, is rarely talked about in gaming these days, but I think it's very important in my opinion. Next, we'll take a breather and we'll check in with our weekly Destiny Roundup, where we highlight any news and information concerning Bungie and Destiny 2. See, I told you we're still sticking to our roots. Then it's on to our topic number 3, where Alekate will discuss a topic concerning the future of gaming that most of us probably have not thought about. As is the custom of the show, I will present the last topic of the episode today, which features an up-and-coming gaming studio that seems to be doing everything. Well, almost everything correctly these days, and the other live service gaming developers out there, well, they need to take notes. I will also announce my game of the month that I'll be playing for the month of February. And then after that point, we'll shift over into a less formal portion of our show where we'll catch up with everyone and share our highlights of their week. And in future episodes, by the way, if we have a new guest, we'll also get to know them better and they'll have a chance to partake in the speed run. It's our fast fire question and answer segment to know our new guest at an even deeper level. At the end of the show, if time allows, we'll answer questions from our community as well. So if you do have a question for us tonight and you're in the live chat, make sure you enter it in our podcast questions channel in our Discord community, and we might read it aloud tonight live on the show. You can also send us an email and a voicemail. If you want to know how to do that, just go to guardiandowncast.com to find out more about that. Oh, and one last thing. As a celebration of our new show format tonight, we have a very exciting contest that I'll talk about at the very end of the show tonight. So if everyone's ready, let's roll. Hey, Guardians, even though we're now the new Guardian Down Roundtable, all the ways you can contact us are the same. Just go to guardiandowncast.com where you can email us, write us a review, send us a voicemail that we might air on the show, by the way, and even listen to past episodes where you can also search for a particular guest of the show. I use this every week to find past episodes that our guest roundtablers are from, so you can go back and hear them and hear their story. guardiandowncast.com. Okay, we're going to jump right into our first topic today, and that topic belongs to Mr. RoninRedLion. So what do you have for us tonight, Ronin? The floor is yours, sir.
First topic of the first show in the new format. No pressure, right?
No pressure. You're fine.
So, I wanted to talk about the psychological state known as flow and how it relates to activities in gaming. I first started to notice this in martial arts, obviously. I noticed some of my best sparring matches have been with partners whose combination of technical skill and athleticism, like the kind of total of that, matched up well with my own. They might be a little faster but less technical, or might be a little more technical but I'm faster than them, that kind of thing.
Right.
But what I started to notice is with partners like that, the rounds almost seemed like they were in slow motion, but they were also over before I knew it. And even after that, the match could end in a total stalemate, but it still felt like a great experience. And, you think, oh, I'm supposed to win, right? Or, it's very binary, right? There's a winner and a loser. But yeah, I started to notice there was this like almost autopilot that would kick in when I was in like just that right balance of skill and control, that it wasn't overwhelming me, but also, that I was able to keep up. And, like I said, it just sort of took off, and I'd come home and I'd tell my wife, like, wow, I had a great night practice tonight, and I couldn't put a finger on why. And so I started kind of paying attention to what the situation was that led to that feeling, how that relates to gaming, where sometimes I've experienced that same sensation. I'm going to use Destiny as an example because that's, what we've all shared in these same events that I'm going to talk about.
Right.
But on the show for several episodes now, there's been a lot of talk about the difficulty tuning in Destiny. And it seems like the focus has been around the rewards at the end of activities and whether they feel like they're on par with the challenge, or also a lot of talk about how like our power growth forces us into the next bracket. And so the challenge level goes up, and it seems like we're always like chasing goalposts that keep moving away from us. And that leads to, frustration or burnout. But on the flip side, and it's cool that all four of us were here for this, and then, of course, a couple others, the day one equilibrium dungeon that we all ran. Remember our raid team split up into two teams, and we had kind of a casual race to see who could finish it first. We all finished. We all had a great time. And that was the thing. We all had a great time in that dungeon. It's some of the most fun I've ever had in Destiny. And, while the loot was good, it was still secondary to the experience. And I was thinking, what made that so memorable? For me personally, it felt like that, the way they set it up, tuned it, and then the fact that we didn't know anything going in, it was a blind day one. And so you're looking around at everything, and you don't know, what button am I supposed to push? What, where am I supposed to go? Am I, doing the right mechanic? That kind of thing. It was like this perfect balance of challenge and stress and, trying to keep up, but like all the things that we've done prior, we know our equipment, we know our abilities. It was that good balance of challenge for our skill level that kept me focused and concentrating like the whole way through in a way that could be described as a flow state. And so I looked up what the definition of flow state is. And you hear mostly about this in, sports and athletic events. It's commonly called being in the zone. Mm-hmm. It's a state of intense focus where you're trying to accomplish a task that's difficult enough to stretch your skills to the limit without being so tough that it causes frustration or anxiety. The concept was first identified in 1975 by psychologist, and let me pronounce this right, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi.
Good luck.
I had to look that up.
Yeah.
It's described as being made up of 6 parts. And so it starts with intense concentration on the task at hand. Mm-hmm. And, that's pretty obvious. And here's where it starts getting good, though. It's a merging of action and awareness. So you have almost like improvising through things where you get immediate feedback on whether you're doing something right or wrong, and you react to it. I said earlier, it felt like being on autopilot, going through this. And yeah, so that like aware state where you're just keyed into it is a big element. And then it gets even better. Loss of reflective self-consciousness. Now, it's kind of a big word there, but what it is you lose your fear of failure. And you have a sense of control over the situation. That's the next element. So you are so focused on doing the thing. And you might even remember some examples, like from, I think you mentioned bowling before.
Yep.
Where you were going for like a perfect game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you get that feeling like even though it's stressful, you know that you can handle it.
Yeah. Just
if you keep your focus and don't get interrupted, that kind of thing. And there's a distortion of the perception of time, which with a lot of these types of events and activities, you look at the clock and you're like, man, has it really been that long? Because you're not paying attention to the stuff around you. But it's not like you get so, zoned in that you can't pay attention to the things around you. It's just that you're like dialed in.
Right.
And the last one, the last part of this, the 6th, is that the experience is autotelic. And what that means is the activity is intrinsically rewarding. I mentioned earlier how just running that dungeon as a group was fun for its own sake. It wasn't because we were trying to get, a particular reward at the end of it. And a lot of us have jumped right back in and run with other people time and time again. And, I still, I've gotten some good rewards from it, but I like just running it for the sake of running it.
Yeah.
And so it really is summed up in one of the articles I sent you the link for on this.
Yeah.
From Atlassian. They described it as the state where hard work meets joy and meaning. So it's like all the practice you've put into whatever it is, it's your chance to put that all into motion.
Yeah.
You might remember from a couple episodes back, Jealous was on. He talked about how him and his partner were playing I forget what event it was, but his partner had to go AFK for a bit. And so he just like stood off to the side and held the forward button so that he wouldn't get kicked from the activity. And so Jealous had to like go back and forth, doing mechanics and like healing his buddy at the same time. And when his buddy came back, he said, "Don't move." He said, don't jump back in and start helping me. Like, I am dialed in. He got into this perfect rhythm.
I remember that.
And that's like, I think that's a perfect example of this in gaming, is where, the stress level got turned up because suddenly he's down a teammate, but he's making it happen. And, when you have the skill to do that, like you can really feel dialed in.
Yeah.
And then kind of expanding on that, flow isn't just an individual sensation either. Group flow is also possible. And that's typically seen in sports teams, when say two football teams are pretty evenly matched, you see that they really start to focus in, and you can see some of the best games happen because of that. It also happens in musical groups where a band might have to improvise because someone missed a beat or something went a little bit wrong and they have to, make adjustments to correct.
Right.
And a lot of that comes from having team level challenges or common goals.
Mm-hmm.
But also all the individuals on the team have like solid skill sets that help address those missteps.
Right.
And some of the studies they've done on this have actually involved jazz musicians and how, that's a lot of improvisational type of music. They've gone so far as to do like brain activity studies. They hook EEGs up to a jazz musician and have them play different, they give them a set of notes and say, improvise something for this, just to try and see what parts of the brain activate. So it's a field that gets a lot of study. And of course, for us, our weekly raid team's a perfect example of this, because you remember when we were running the Desert Perpetual week after week, first it was about learning, and now, and I point this out sometimes when we're in raids, that we get to that stage where we can improvise if someone, accidentally misses a beat, or if they, get knocked out by an enemy and, we have to make adjustments on the fly. It's like once we can reach that point where we're not just able to accomplish the task, but also make adjustments to account for stuff that goes wrong, like that's that group flow feeling, I think.
Yeah, I've experienced it. Definitely. Yeah.
And I talked to a few people I know, both musicians and athletes, runners in particular. So the musicians talking about this, one said that these improvised moments are best when he's working with skilled bandmates. Right. Like that was how he phrased it. And I thought, yeah, that's perfect. It plays in with the
raid.
Like I said about our raid team, once we're able to keep up with that. Another musician who's also a composer creatively, he described it as being like an antenna. When he's trying to write out like lyrics or notes, it's like you get that sudden burst of creativity that it feels like you're not actively making every decision in the creative process, but the ideas are just flowing and you're putting them on paper. Mm-hmm. A really good way to describe this is those aha moments.
Right.
And then with the runner that I talked to, what I noticed with the runners is it's always after they've, with distance running, right? None of us like to do it because it's distance running.
We all know about the bear.
But
we'll know about the bear when we get that last corner. Exactly.
Yeah, and there's that point where if you're doing a long run, I mean, the people I talk to are like marathon runners.
Oh.
But they reach that point after the first like 3 or 4 miles where it just sort of like they stop worrying about how tired they're getting and they just keep going.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they realize they're down to the last mile. And it's like, how, where did the time go? And it's because of this, like, they lose that feeling of like perceiving the effort. And so they actually are less fatigued because of it, because they're in that zone. And some people refer to it as the runner's high.
Right.
But going back to the original study on flow, it actually involved a very simple question. And the psychology professor asked his survey subjects, what activities produce your deepest enjoyment and greatest satisfaction? And that seems like a very simple question, but it's actually pretty deep. And I had to think about that because, the first things I would go to are, oh, I like playing this game, or oh, I like doing martial arts. But really, when you boil it down to what it is about your hobbies and activities that you like, for me, it's problem solving and teaching, finding ways to frame and demonstrate things that help others understand how to do something. So, you mentioned earlier that a lot of us here do Sherpaing, and that's right up my alley. I enjoy not just learning how to do the activity, but how to explain it to others. And that's the exact same thing with martial arts coaching. I like trying to find analogies. And I teach kids classes, so I have to be even more creative, use a lot of, pop culture analogies or, cartoon animal metaphors, that kind of stuff. And therein lies the challenge for me is like, how do I explain this in a way that my audience or, students are going to understand it and get the maximum learning out of it.
Right.
So it's neat how I can apply that in, all these different areas of my life. But I wanted to turn over to the table here. How would you answer that question, both in real life activities and in gaming? What activities produce your deepest enjoyment and greatest satisfaction?
Man, that is a deep question. And I mean, I have to go to the bowling analogy you mentioned because about 6 weeks ago, I threw 11 I threw like 20 something in a row between two games, but the game I was on, I threw 11 in a row. I got to the last frame. If you throw a perfect game, 12, you throw 12 frames. I was on the 11th. I threw the 11th strike, and all I had to do was get that last strike, and you got it. And the 300s that I've thrown in the past, what I tend to do is a lot of people like to socialize at bowling. They'll talk to their friends, they'll go visit people and say hello and stuff. I usually have like a blog site open where I'm reading blogs. It could be on anything, gaming or whatever. And it just makes me focus and quiet all the noise around me. And that seems to help me get dialed in. But me saying that, I've been chasing it. I've been chasing that feeling now, Ronin, for probably 4 weeks now, and it has just been brutal. And I'm trying to go back into my week when I was bowling those weeks. What changed? Why? I mean, you can say, well, the bowling lanes weren't oiled correctly, or they had to get a loaner machine or something, but it doesn't really matter, because if you really are focused and you're hyper focused on what you're trying to do, like you said, man, time is not really an element anymore, and you're just deadlock focused on getting those strikes. And what you'll notice in bowling culture, when someone has several strike frames in a row of strikes, the bowlers on both sides will give them lots of room because they understand they don't want to be blamed for the distraction or breaking someone out of that zone. And a lot of bowlers, well, most of the bowlers I play with on our league are all like semi-pro or very good bowlers, 200 average and up. So it's kind of weird. I would say first and foremost, that's probably what I aspire to do every week. But there'll be times when I'm playing Iron Banner solo or a Crucible match. This is a while ago because we haven't had Iron Banner forever, where I will just be in the zone, man. It's just like I can see people coming around the corners before they even see me. And it's like my aim is just on the weapon, the configuration. Everything I have in the game just is working. It's just dialed in. And every game, top of the leaderboard, every game. And I know it sounds pompous saying that, but it's just when you're in the zone gaming like that, it is, maybe it's part of ADHD too. It's where you really hyper focus, and then you look up and it's like, holy crap, I've been sitting here playing for 3 hours. But I'll let someone else comment on that. Alekate or Kingsley, you guys want to mention, comment on that topic?
Yeah, good conversation. I have a lot of questions and a lot to say. So hopefully I don't keep this too long, but I love the topic. I know Ronin's been wanting to talk about this for a while, and I have a lot of interest in it. And first, just some examples of times where I've definitely noticed this occasionally happening. And just in gaming examples, the dungeon was a great experience, but even more notable for me when we were doing Desert Perpetual raid and we were kind of learning it. And I remember very specifically Hydra encounter. And we all know that the ads on the outside are kind of intense. So the two people, and usually I'm one of the people outside on the left side and then whoever's on the right side. Mm-hmm. And I could tell, like, even for me and even for like an average raid, an average person, I'm like, okay, this is a little more intense than normal. So I really have to be on point. But I didn't mind. I was like, I can do it because I've done master raids before. I've done Pantheon and wasn't necessarily fun with those experiences. But for whatever reason, I got in a flow state pretty quickly with that, where having the build helped. So I had some confidence going into it and then just trying to focus some and then just really enjoying it and being in a state where after just a couple tries, I was like, I feel in a flow. I don't feel worried about keeping ads under control. And it just really was kind of like a meditative state in a way. That's how I was kind of thinking about it. Believe it or not, I've actually had this experience sometimes in Crucible, the very rare times that I play Crucible. And in Crucible too, it's very rare, but there has been a few times where I don't think I was trying to do anything to get in a flow state, but I know I was there because all of a sudden I noticed in the back of my brain that I was getting a lot of kills and not dying as much myself. And then, like kind of how you mentioned, Todd, the leaderboard, it's not even a pompous thing. It's just a metric that you did well. I was noticing too. I was top of the leaderboard for like 2 matches in a row, but not because I didn't even really feel like I was trying, because normally it's so painful to try because I get so bored with Crucible and it's frustrating to me. And it's just not a game mode that I enjoy. It's boring to me, but for whatever reason, something got me in a flow state. And then I just felt at ease and I did good. And it was only a couple matches. And then something changed. I think I just got bored again or something. And then the next match, I wasn't doing as good. And then I was like, oh yeah, this isn't that interesting to me.
I mean, the scoreboard is the only feedback mechanism of how well you did. So that's what you look for at the end of the game. And you're right, man, because you could be in the flow state and you can snap out of it just as quickly. You hear about people playing basketball that are killing it all game, and all of a sudden, all they have to do is make a free throw, and they can't do it. They're out of their snap. They've snapped out, and they lose the game. Stuff like that. So, just to add what you're saying.
A couple other things I wanted to say about it. The group flow state, I definitely appreciate that too. The biggest example I've had about this in the past, and it's been a while ago now, but the biggest example was when we were learning and playing the Crown of Sorrow raid. And Sin knows the story, and sometimes I bring it up. But in that raid at the end, I feel like more so than any other raid, it's you and a partner, and you rely on each other so much for like this period of time. And just, of course, Sin and I were playing a lot back then, as we still do now, but we were in our little corner and working on things. And, of course, we had to communicate a little bit about what we were doing, but we so quickly got into flow state where we didn't have to talk at all. Like he'd be on the one side and know when the one ad was spawning in and kill that. And then I would do the mechanic thing on this side. And then it would have like this thing where we'd have to swap and then vice versa. And we did not have to talk at all. We were such in a flow state that we knew too, like if someone's ads weren't going out as quickly, that the other person would help back each other up. And it was just an interesting flow state. I do have some questions, and then I'm curious your opinion, Ronin, or anyone else, of course. You mentioned there's a lot of these things that kind of go into flow state, and I totally agree. It makes sense. I feel like, I guess in a way, a lot of times I'm in I don't know if we'd call it a flow state, but a minor version of this whenever I'm raiding, because I enjoy raiding so much. I can just kind of be in an experience where I'm having fun and not worry about stuff. But that might just be a different term, right? Like we've done it so many times, it's just easy. So it's probably not technically flow, right? It's more just
it's like
easy at that point. We're just having fun.
It's like when someone falters, not looking at me, but I don't ever fail. But when someone falters, it's like the other person's already perceived that could happen and already is already running to correct it. that kind of thing. I think that's kind of a flow state as a group flow state.
But what I meant was like for myself, I moved on to a point of where like when I'm raiding week after week, I feel like very chill, very much in a flow, but most of that time it's just because it's easy for me.
Okay.
I guess the more specific point I'll have, if anyone has any opinions on this, is do you think there's anything we can do to seed this to get into flow state? You mentioned like we're focusing or whatever, but like you even mentioned too, Todd, but like if we really want to try and get to that flow state, are we almost self-sabotaging ourselves, or can we try really hard to focus? Or is a lot of times getting in flow just happening unknowingly? I feel like that happens a lot of times too, but what are all your opinions on that?
Ronan?
So the two mental states that are adjacent to flow, like there's a chart that is basically your skill level versus the stress level of the activity. And if your skill level is high, but the stress level is just a little bit too low for flow, that zone is called relaxation.
Yeah.
So it's still like, a pleasurable activity that you're good at, but like just what you're describing, Kingsley, it's relaxing.
Yeah.
You're chilling. It's still fun, but it's not pushing your skills to that limit. And then of course, on the other side, something you're not quite skilled enough for that is at that heightened stress level, the mental or the psychological state for that is called arousal. That's where you're like hyper aware.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where it's not difficult enough to cause like frustration or anxiety, but it's it's almost like you're not quite feeling in control. So it's not a pleasurable experience. But really the polar opposite of flow is apathy. This is so boring, or I am so not capable of doing this that I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's frustration for
me. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
When I know I'm out of the flow state in bowling, I get frustrated and the negative talk starts rolling in, and then it just snowballs, and then you're way out of the flow. But the nights I've been in the flow where I've hit those strikes, strike after strike, it's like I do the same approach. I have that muscle memory, like batters do a certain thing where they do a pre-swing wind up before they get up to the plate every time. It's the same thing I do in bowling. But we haven't heard Kate talk at all. I wanted to see what her input is on this. Kate, what do you think?
Well, I mean, if I have to go and chime in,
please.
Basically, I'm kind of like Ronin with the whole flow state and gaming and being the Sherpa. I love going in with these groups, having people that are learning new roles. So we're having to go and, be right there to go and catch when mistakes are made. So we're always on that edge because we know mistakes will be made. But at the same time, it's a comfort thing. They get it. They knock it out of the park. We do great. And it's a nice little high that carries us on to the next encounter. And, we learn something new again.
Yep.
And I mean, that's what keeps me coming back to the gaming is I really enjoy being, doing the Sherpa, teaching people these encounters, helping them learn something, and helping them gain their own confidence doing the encounter.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, do you...
And...
Go ahead, Kate. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to touch on what Kingsley said, where we're going through Desert Perpetual and so on. Now we're at the point we're not learning it. We've learned our roles. We're getting more comfortable in them. So we're moving through it. We're hitting that flow state because we're at that point where we know if we go and drop our guard too much, we're going to, something's going to happen. It's going to, the whole avalanche effect. So we're having to stay on that edge, but at the same time, we have the comfort level and the skill that we know we can do it. So, I mean, I'm not sure that actually qualifies as flow state, but it's part of what makes the raid so fun because we know we can't just relax and autopilot it. Not yet.
It's funny you say that because we were talking in our raid group about trying what's the one from Final Shape called? Salvation's Edge?
Salvation's Edge.
And we're all kind of like, we've had such a good high playing, the Desert Perpetual, or we played, Last Wish the other week, we played two raids actually because we know them pretty well. And we're all kind of hesitant, but we're kind of like, well, maybe we can push ourselves a little bit here and learn. We've all had experience with Salvation's Edge, but like a lot of people in the Destiny community don't have a lot of reps in that raid. It's like they got through it and they're like, okay, I did it. I'm done. And that's kind of the way I was. I got Sherpa through it, and then no one really mentioned wanting to play it. And I just look in the sesh bot things, and no one's ever putting the Salvation's Edge raids together. So I'm like, well, and like Kingsley said last week, a lot of the people who played those raids that were Sherpas aren't playing the game right now. So it kind of leaves you out there where, well, do we Sherpa ourselves? Do we learn how to do this and be a little more uneasy? Because I'll be honest, Ronin, when we were doing those dungeons the first time, the Equilibrium dungeons where we split up, I was not in the zone. I was like head on a swivel trying to figure out, okay, no, I remember, what do I need to do next? And I was just trying to get the pattern down so I knew how to do it. But I guarantee if I played it 5 or 6 more times, then I would be easily in that flow state, like what you were. But see, that's where we differ. That's why I'm not really can ever be a Sherpa, because I am too distracted when we're trying to do something like day one. And that's what I love about you guys, is you guys are always so level-headed. You're just breaking it down into the bits. And Kingsley, you do this too. You're all so level-headed when it comes to raiding. And I'm like the manic guy going, oh, wait, what do we need to do over again? Okay, I didn't do that. So what do we need to do now? So that kind of thing. But no, I mean, Ronan, it's a great topic, man. Do you have any closing thoughts or anything you want to mention before we move on?
Yeah, well, it's just kind of a neat counterpoint how, you talked about not getting as much fulfillment out of the dungeon, but you love doing Crucible.
Yes.
And I know you've said in the past that you love doing Crucible because you never know what opponents you're going to get matched up against.
Right.
And I think what Kate said really hits on how Sherpaing, raids or dungeons is for us. We never know what kind of learner we're going to get.
That's true. That's what I was going to ask you
guys. We're seeing two sides of the same coin here.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you and Kate is do you guys get, and maybe Kingsley too, since you're all Sherpas, do you get a kick out of trying to figure out how to express and break down where it's understandable to that new type of raider? Are you trying to figure out, is that half the skill trying to figure out what makes it tick with them, or is that just happenstance?
Well, for me, real quick, and I've been a little less caring about Sherping, as everyone knows, but I still like it enough. But I realize that I get more enjoyment out, and I still really love when someone's learning something and they learn it and we're all happy. But more like a background filling in, like no matter if we're teaching them or not, or if we're running with our regular crew and we're just joking around, the experience is always different because maybe Sin got extra distracted because some joke we made or whatever.
Yeah.
Then he messed up or he died or he didn't die, or like maybe there's extra ads in the area because something happened. And then I get to fill in and kind of, do that. So it's always kind of a different experience. Like that's what I thrive, is just the variability. To me, it's kind of like a flow state, even though it's not technically what we're talking about, but just how it can be different and how I can fill in based on what other people are doing.
Gotcha. You guys had any comments about that, Alekate or Ronan, about new players?
I know when I'm teaching somebody new, you get somebody to a certain point and they're going to be fatigued. They're taking in a lot.
Yeah.
If this is something that's brand new to them. And anybody who's run with me, they'll know when I'm starting to get to that point myself, because I will stop and I'll start making jokes that are just completely off the wall. I've sat there and called a 5-minute break and said, okay, you've got 5 minutes to go raid your neighbor's panty drawer. Don't get caught. And, it's just totally off the wall and knocks them out of whatever, focus they're in. And everybody, has a good laugh and we come back and we keep going.
Yeah. In video content creating, they call that a redirect. That's why they flash, the good video creators out there will flash like an abstract image, like break the conversation with an image in your face. It's called a redirect, or you're breaking the pattern where you're not lulling people to sleep. That's a good point. Ronan, did you have one more comment on that as far as when it comes to even teaching your kids jujitsu or in raids or dungeons?
Yeah. So Yeah, I think the challenge that I enjoy in that, and I kind of talked about this earlier, is finding relatable analogies that put things in, like they frame it in a way that the learner can understand. So, if I know they're, say, into cooking, I might try to find an analogy to a recipe, like, oh, you got to have this part and this part, and if you leave this out, it's just like what ruins the cookies that you're trying to bake, or just finding ways to connect like that is a lot of fun.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And like Kingsley mentioned earlier, sometimes we just want to raid to relax. Sometimes we want to play games to relax. We might want to play something simple and repetitive. Other times we might want to play something challenging. And these are all places we need to go, psychologically. It's not this like end state that we're trying to pursue constantly, because it's not easy and you don't want to work at that high stress level all the time.
Yeah.
But it's what produces kind of your highlight reel of your life, is those moments where you answer the call of the difficulty of the situation and, come out of it a little more skilled, a little bit more fulfilled.
Awesome. Well, I wish we can continue down that path, but we have 3 other topics to talk about tonight. So that's the only thing I hate is we could probably make one of these topics an entire show, but the way the roundtable is set up, we want to make sure everyone gets their story in tonight. So I want to thank you, Ronin, for being brave and starting out with our first topic and our first story on the roundtable tonight. So thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Okay. That means we're on to the second topic, and we'll do that right after this. All right, it's on to our second topic. I wish we could have kept talking about flow state, but the one thing I love about this show is if flow state isn't your topic, then we move on to the next topic. And that is you, Kingsleymac. So what do you got for us tonight, man? What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, thank you. Tonight, I wanted to talk about some stuff that's slightly new, slightly old reminders, and just the general overall topic is etiquette within our circles of using the Discord, gaming, and voice chats, and using the scheduling system, and just how we can help each other out learn the best way to do these things. Now, I want this conversation to be very open-ended while I'm talking, so you guys can butt in at any point, because there's 3 kind of mini topics underneath this, and I definitely don't want to wait till the very end if anyone has any comments.
Okay.
All right, so etiquette within Discord. We have a great Discord, and honestly, there's not hardly ever any issues. And when I say etiquette, don't think of any negative connotation of like, oh, we have to act a perfect way or whatever. I just mean tips and things to help people get a better experience.
Yeah.
So a couple tips on Discord, especially if you're new, is introduce yourself, right? And a lot of people do this. Introduce yourself, what you're here for, how you found out about us, and what you're looking to get out of it. Along with that, start looking around in the Discord, right? So many times people don't know that there's multiple channels and multiple places to talk about things. We all really appreciate it when someone finds, a channel to talk about things out of our many, many channels. But, sometimes part of joining a Discord community, I'm in so many here and I've done Discord for many, many years, is if you're not sure, look around and just watch first. I want to use the word listen, but you're reading, you're not listening, but you know what I mean? Like see where other people are talking. You'll kind of get an idea for what's going on. I mean, no one's going to care, but like a perfect example is we have different channels for a reason. And if you want to ask a Destiny question, sure, you can ask it in general, but it's so much better asking it in Destiny chat for a couple of reasons. I mean, first, not everyone may be checking out the general channel if they aren't as interested in those conversations, and vice versa. We wouldn't expect someone in the Destiny channel to be saying day after day, oh, how's your day going? Tell us about, that's more for like the general channel.
Yeah.
So, look around, see what channels there are. There's many, many channels that have descriptions at the top that tell you what the channel's purpose is for in case the actual title's not good enough, like, oh, so-and-so channel, I don't know what that means. Well, look at the channel description. That may give you a clue.
Yeah. Sometimes we'll even put descriptions at the top of the channel. There's actually descriptions like our general channel, for instance. If you look in there, it says this channel's for anything you want to talk about, generally speaking. And it's pretty much, And like you say, a lot of people go there to say good morning, how you doing, just check in. But I'll tell you, the busiest channel in our Discord, one of our busiest is the Destiny channel, because that's where everyone's comparing notes and talking all about things they've been trying. So yeah, good point.
Yeah, sure. And of course, be nice. Again, our community is so awesome, but don't try to post things that might be controversial or be harsh on opinions. One tip that I like to give, I had this in another Discord, and I think we have the wording here too, but you don't say something that could be so harsh that you would have to follow up if someone took offense. If you have to follow up saying, "Oh, I was just joking," that's never a good look, man. Like, you don't want to, sometimes people use that as an excuse, like, "Oh, I guess I was a little harsh, but I was just joking." No. If it could be taken a bad way, then it's probably best to not do in the first place. But most of all, have fun. Yeah.
That was hard.
What do you think, Todd?
That was hard for me because I'm very new to Discord. I mean, when we started our podcast 7 years ago, that's when I knew about Discord, and I've had a lot to learn since then. And I would go into a lot of like the dad's tales, or I go into the Guardian Hub, the Discords and stuff, and mention something a little snarky, like when you're friends with another guy friend, you usually it's a Gen X thing, I guess. We kind of rag on each other, that's kind of what we do. And I'm realizing that context does not get it through in a text. And you got to realize when you're making a snarky comment about someone in the Discord, it can definitely not be taken the way that you intend to. So yeah, that's a good point. If you have to go back and explain why you stated it, then just maybe think about it before you or maybe word it differently, right?
Yeah. And but honestly, we don't have too many issues in our Discord, but just we want people to even talk more. So these are things, if you're looking, you still haven't joined the Discord community, or you have and you're not really talking much, feel free, right? We want opinions. And the thing that's nice about stuff, and I said this time and time again, we can have somewhat strong opinions on preferences on gaming things. Like, obviously, this has been a thing with Destiny forever. Now, finding the right line can be tough sometimes, even for me. But like, it's okay to have strong opinions one way or the other, but it's always good to sometimes preface, if you have to, in my opinion, if you use those words, that really helps a lot.
It does.
Or saying things like, some people feel like this, rather than saying you feel like this, because if you say that, you're trying to put words in someone else's mouth. Yeah, Deadpool put a good comment in the Discord. When in doubt, don't post at all. That's a good thing too. But we want to say also, you're allowed to have opinions on things, right? I mean, this is about fairness. Like, when we have strong opinions, again, we'll just use Destiny as the example. If there's things in the game that you don't like and it's bothering you, you can mention that, as long as you're also fair that everyone else is allowed to mention what they like about the game. So I never like it when the people that don't like things about a game don't want people to post things that they do like about the game, and vice versa. If someone's really loving a game, they don't want someone posting something that they don't like about the game. I know it can be a fine line. Sometimes what you don't like about the game can be, people can take that personally, and then vice versa. If someone is like, they'll be, "Oh, you're glazing the game." They may not be necessarily doing that. They're just saying they really like something. So try to just be mindful of that.
Our Discord is very mature. We very rarely run into that problem. And I would say we're probably on the more mature side in the Destiny community phase as far as that goes. We have some young members in here, but they're always beyond their age when they...
We're the retirement community.
Well, we're getting there. Never know.
I mean,
I don't think we're there yet. But
we've made jokes, and we're not mentioning any of our ages on this show. And it's not just us four, but like, sometimes we like to have fun little jokes about like, and I know there's younger people in the Discord too, but like, I've really noticed, yeah, you're right. We do kind of have look, age or not, we have a more mature crew, which is really nice, right? To have a good community like this.
Exactly.
I appreciate everyone for that.
Age and maturity do not go hand in hand.
That is true.
And we know when to have fun also.
That is true.
Well,
okay.
we yes, you're right, Kate, where there can be people that are jerks that are older, but also I took that when you first said it as, we know when to have fun also.
Good point. Yep.
All right. Voice chats. Voice chats are pretty good too, but I would give a couple tips on etiquette. When you join voice chats, kind of see why you're joining. If you see like a voice chat says raid group of 6 and even the channel is open for 7, don't just come in there with the purpose to just BS. I've had a couple experiences. We haven't had this in a long time in this community or anything, but it was frustrating for me personally when someone just comes in and they just were trying to raid and they're just like, so about that Seahawks game, blah, 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 blah. They'll just talk constantly for like, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to find a nice way to just, hey man, we got to focus on this. I mean, a good tip is if you want to talk, come on in and say, hey guys, what you up to? If you're raiding, no big deal, but like, is there room to talk right now? Or just listen and see. Of course, a lot of times we have channels for a purpose capped at a certain number, so that doesn't even happen. But
and on the other end of the spectrum too, Kingsley, we have channels that are general hangouts. We have a general hangout that holds 35 people. So if you want to just hang out and just
would never exactly. You would never be expected to not be able to join that one.
Exactly.
Sometimes I'll even ask people DM behind the scenes, like, oh, do you mind if I join a channel or whatever? I mean, I could join any channel as a mod, but over penetrate the channel as Sin likes to joke. But like, it's still, you try to use some social cues on that. And this should be obvious. And this, again, doesn't happen often, but try to be mindful about what you're talking about. Often we know within certain groups of people, friend groups, like, okay, we know we can talk about this jokey thing, or we know we can talk about that or whatever. But, the obvious things, like you probably don't want to talk about politics, religion, or to be fair on that point, ragging on religion either. You don't want to be talking about any of those 3 things,
Yeah, that goes on.
Unless
every
you're
Discord.
with friends that what you're, that goes for everything. Yeah. And any comments on those? And then I want to move on to like how to best use our scheduling system.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Ronin, Kate.
I know you've been chatting, and it's okay if you guys don't have any comments, but I just things that we've learned over the years.
Go ahead, Ronin.
In the general hangout channel, that's a good place where people might meet up and say, oh, I'm just playing Destiny solo right now, or whatever game, and somebody else might be, well, hey, I could use a partner for this, and it's a good place to organize small groups and then excuse yourself to one of the other channels that's capped at, say, 3 players, and go do the activity that you were talking about doing.
That's a good point.
And we will often do that. That is a nice way also in case you have to move, because you need some quiet just to be in a certain group. You can just always break off or something. So there are options for sure.
Yeah, just a good way to have kind of impromptu, group activities.
And that's a good discussion. We should try to just have more people hanging out in general, and maybe we could get some more. Everyone. I don't just mean us 4, but like if you're around, just join in general, and then who knows, you might be talking and want to then just do a subgroup up and play some game.
Exactly. Go ahead, Kate. You were going to say something.
Okay, I'd just like to go and touch on what Kingsley said about the raid group channels and so on, where they're capped at 6. If they're sitting at 5 people and, the channels only allow 6 people, don't just jump in, because their 6th person might have, dropped, because Bungie's perfect. And they need to have that spot open so their 6th person can get in.
So they can't get in.
Whisper one of the people that's in there and ask, hey, is there room for me to come in and join? As opposed to, okay, I'm going to jump in, and now nobody else can join the channel, including, if they've already got a final person, because you're then putting the group on the spot, telling you need to leave to make room. And nobody likes being on that awkward side. It's awkward being that person being told to leave. It's awkward having to tell somebody to leave. Yeah.
And if someone's in that chat, that let's just say the 6-person chat, and it only holds 6 people, and someone joined as the number 6 spot, if you're a mod and you have those abilities, usually what we'll do is we'll just open up another slot. We don't want to be a dick and just boot people out. We'll say, oh, okay, we're doing a raid, and I appreciate you saying hey. And what I'll usually do is I'll just open up one more slot. So if the person's trying to get back in, but not everybody has that power. You have to be a mod or an admin to do that. So, but yeah, it's a very good point.
But also, I would say, Todd, it's also totally okay for a group to not want an extra person.
That's very true too.
hanging out, so it really is, you don't have to, even if we are a mod, we don't have to open an extra spot just to count for that person.
Yeah.
You might be feeling somewhat antisocial other than your close friends, and you just really wanted those 6 people, and having someone else join, you're like I felt this way before. Like, I promise there was nothing against the person. I just didn't want an extra person kind of just yapping.
Yeah. And
so some days you're just not in the mood to deal with an extra person. And if you do jump in, as that extra body, don't sit there, like you said, don't sit there and try to go and steer the conversation somewhere else. If they're trying to do raid call outs and you're not in that raid, you need to go and take a step back and just listen. Don't try to butt into their conversation.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah. And going back to Kingsley's point, just look and see what's the label on the voice channel. If it says a raid team of 6, then more than likely, and someone did jump in to our raid group that one night, and he was actually pretty cool. He was just making sure we didn't need somebody because he only saw 6 people in there, and that's okay. You can jump in and say that, and if say, oh yeah, someone got kicked, we're just waiting for him to come back in, then you just bow out gracefully. But generally, you don't want to just jump into a chat and immediately start blabbing in the raids. Even when, and you know how I like to blab, I'll even join, if you guys are playing a game, I'll join in and I'll be quiet until someone addresses me, because I don't know what you guys are doing in the voice chat. So that's a good example. Yeah.
That is a good example. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Good tips. And gosh, now I just thought of another thing, but in raids now too, let's say you're getting Sherpa'd by someone amazing like Ronin or Kate or whatever, and you're learning things. Well, when you learn, first of all, number 1 tip is try not to have side conversations when someone's teaching, because that can be very distracting, when something's being taught. I'm sure I've even done that at some point, but the fact that I've noticed it happening with other people means like it happens often enough. And then also, even in raids, I know this is sounding like all regimented and whatever, but it really helps, like, trust us, like people that once you can get closer to that flow state or relaxation state or things like that, there's a point for learning and there's a point for having fun. And we often will ask people too, like, what's the purpose of this raid? But when we're trying to learn things and do mechanics in raids too, it's often helpful to have it as little crosstalk and chatter as possible. Like, it's good to say, like, if you have to call out something for a mechanic, of course you have to say that, but you don't have to give your little, fly by fly.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going over to kill these ads now. Oh, now I'm walking over here. Oh, I see a knight. I'm going to take it down. Right. Well, unless you need help taking down the knight, you don't need to tell us you're taking down the knight. Just take it down and be quiet.
Why do I feel you're talking to me on that? I think you're right. Yeah, you're directing that conversation because I do that all the time.
I promise, Todd.
Okay. All right, I'm doing this. I used to have a teammate used to do that. I'm like, okay, man, you don't have to tell us. Just do it. And then I catch myself doing it too. I don't know why.
It's not a huge deal. That probably sounds mean, me saying that, but it's more about other people getting distracted sometimes when there's things like that.
It's just clearing the air. You're just clearing the air. You want to make sure everyone can communicate. Makes sense. Is this an intervention tonight
at a minimum,
for me?
Except what's in no.
It is not, Todd. I promise.
We love you, man. We just don't want you to talk over it.
I have experiences in mind in the past, but it is not you.
Okay.
You're thinking about my raid last night. I know you are.
Okay. Good point.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
We had 2 separate groups, and they were sitting there trying to go and talk to each other, and so we had a lot of cross chat going.
Well, some raids for sure, even there's not much you can do because both teams kind of need to talk at the same time when something's happening. And there's nothing you can always do on that. Again, it does help. You're right. If you're talking less on certain things like, oh, I'm absolute or this or that. I'm like, okay, I don't think we need to know if you're absolute. We just need to know if you actually die, but yeah, when certain raids need call outs at the same time, I always just say then it's a surprise how many times people don't think this through. But if you're talking the same time as someone else and you have a call out, you probably need to say that call out again. Assume your teammate didn't hear you because you were talking the same time as someone else. And so that's often why we'll say something twice as a call out just to be safe.
Yeah, that's
to make
just
sure
experience.
it got through.
That's just experience rating. You get used to, okay, I don't think you heard me because I didn't acknowledge it. Yeah. You wanted to talk about scheduling bot.
Yeah, but the etiquette part in rating was just an extra credit quick thing I was talking about. It's not a big deal. We're always great in the community. With the scheduling bot system, there's some etiquette there, because one thing I want to suggest at the very beginning is, again, remember how I said we have all our channels will have a description at the top.
Yeah.
Please, if you're new to using the scheduling bot system, read the description at the top. It's not every intricacy of what could happen, but it does explain a lot of things that people might miss the first time around that are common questions. And reading that kind of lays down at least some basic ground rules of how we expect people to use the scheduling system. And then if you have additional questions on top of that, DM a mod, DM me. I don't mind any point, because obviously I'm kind of the main person that put this together. I want to be available to help answer questions and stuff like that.
One comment before you move on, Kingsley, we had in the Discord chat. This is from Zariel. He says, speaking of etiquette, please don't talk about random stuff while a cinematic is playing. Never fails my first time watching a cinematic or cutscene and my buddy starts talking about his day, end up missing the scene. Zariel, this is exactly why on day one content with the game, with Destiny, I will play the campaign solo because of that point right there. Because I've had people that want to start BSing, and I'm trying to hear what's going on and what the story's about and stuff. So yeah, I get your point there, Zariel. Yeah. JD Kent, you're making me scared to raid. Of course dude, no. We're not, please, we're not. That's not we're not
I know, right?
That.
I know. These are like, I think of these like life hacks or extra credit things that are helpful if you just want to move up one level to kind of have etiquette for things.
Yep.
And then again, back to the scheduling bot system, we have just a couple things for, Zombie. I was going to mention, we need to start using the Albot for everything.
Yes.
I used to use it in the past for like sometimes Jackbox game group. The question was, can the Albot be used for other games? Yes. You can customize it to however you want. Good question, because we have a default thing that when you create a posting, it's for 6 people, and there is the main people and then the reserves, which I have some late breaking news on that.
Yep.
I changed the name slightly, but you can change the customization to whatever you want. 3 people, 12 people, whatever game you want. It doesn't have to be a raid. And especially as we start promoting other games more, not taken away from Destiny, people need to use the scheduling bot as much as they want.
Yep.
You even want to just do a group up for like
your own sesh templates, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. You can save your own templates, whatever. We could make a group up. I know it sounds silly, but someone wants to have a group up to just have a night where you talk in general chat.
Yep.
You can be like, hey, we're doing this, whatever, Friday night.
There's streams that just talk.
I know that sounds a little silly, but
on Twitch, that's all they do. They just sit there and
joke.
talk. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So the main thing with rating, when we've had Destiny scheduled postings, and this is what we have the majority of right now, I do want to emphasize a couple things that are super important with using the bot. We have the main section, which is called the attending or confirmed. And then there's a bonus section that a lot of people are not aware of, where you can, even though raids have 6 people, the way these scheduling bots work is you can sign up past that 6 on attending, and it'll put you on what this called as waitlist. And I'm just mentioning this for people that aren't sure what that means. Waitlist means that you will automatically be put in if someone in the main attending area bows out, if they leave the scheduled posting. But there's another area too, and it's for a couple of reasons. First, because not everyone knows there's that waitlist thing, and you don't need to know about that. If you forget or don't figure that out at first, it's not a big deal, because we also have another section. And it used to be called reserves, but I changed the name, and you guys can change the template to whatever you want. But I changed it just today to the word backups, okay? I think those will be a little more clarifying, and I also put some text next to it on what that means and how people are expected to be available. When you sign up as a backup, it doesn't mean that you're not sure if you can attend. There is no spot to sign up if you're not sure. If you're not sure, sorry, but you don't get to have a spot in line if you're not sure.
Yeah.
Keep checking the posting. Once you're sure, then you can sign up. But backup means that you are still expected to be available. So what can happen is if someone gets sick or a family emergency comes up or whatever, and they have to bow out of the raid, that's the purpose of the backups and the waitlist people. And if you sign up and not take it seriously, and then you signed up as a backup, and you're like, oh, that means I'm not sure. No, it doesn't mean that. It means you should be available just in case. If you sign up and you're not taking it seriously, that puts everyone in an awkward position that are there because they were counting on the backups. Plus, if let's say 5 people signed up as backups and they were all not serious, well, then when someone sees that listing, that, oh, there's so many people signed up, I'm not going to sign up now because I'll never get in. Well, actually, you would have, because none of those people were taking it seriously.
They're like, you look, they're not online. Yeah, they're not online. They're like, where are they? Yeah.
Yeah. So all we ask, and we understand things can come up, and we are not going to get upset if you have to bow out, even last minute.
Yep.
Unless this happens week after week, multiple times in a row.
Yeah.
Then we may say, well, maybe don't sign up until you know what your schedule's like a little bit better. Yeah. But what we do ask is when you sign up on any spot on the raid, even if you're signing up as a backup, if you be available, and if you're not available, just remove your name from the list. No harm done, right? Because then that way we know, and the sooner the better, of course. Like if it's earlier in the day and you know you're going to be busy that night, remove your name then. Along with that, if you're a type of person that might be forgetful, make a calendar item. We all have smartphones, right? If your schedule is too hectic that you can't even have a smartphone with you to make a reminder, then maybe you shouldn't sign up for the raid in the first place. But when you sign up, make a reminder if you're going to be forgetful, and then you're coming up, you're like, oh, I forgot I signed up for this raid. I can't make it. Then remove your name from the list. Those are all that we ask. It really helps our system work better. And I'm done being mean with those tips, but that's
such a mean guy.
On that.
I don't want to rate it all now.
I know, right?
No, we're just, here's the thing, Kingsley. I'm glad.
What do you guys think? I think everyone here agrees with that, right?
I'm so glad you decided to talk about this tonight, because there's no real easy way to explain it. In the Discord, unless you want to read mountains of text about how the Seshbot works, no one's going to read that stuff. So it's better. I think you're doing a good service to our community tonight, Kingsley, because so many people either are hesitant because they don't know the rules or how we're supposed to do it. And there's a lot of people in our Discord that haven't been in a Discord before, it's all new to them. So I'm glad you're talking about this tonight, because I think it's important. And like you said, as we start to branch out and play other games, and yes, definitely Zombie, schedule another game, man. And it doesn't have to be Destiny anymore. That Seshbot is universal. You can use it for just about anything you want. So yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned it tonight, Kingsley. So I didn't mean to talk over anybody who wanted to mention a comment on that. Anybody else want to comment?
I just wanted to touch on that because I had that exact situation happen. I have my Wednesday raid that I put up every week, and I had that exact situation pop up where I had my full group of 6 that I thought, okay, great, we've got the people we need for the raid. I also had one person who was waitlisted and 2 people on reserve. Well, come day of the raid, I have one person from the group who dropped. My waitlist person never showed up. And my 2 people that were over on reserves, neither of them was online. Neither of them responded to a text, DM, anything until, an hour later. So we're sitting there at raid time, scrambling, trying to go and find those last body, because we had 3 people that were all, supposedly going to be there and weren't. And I've actually had to sit there and update my posting to include that you are expected to be online and ready to go, or don't sign up. Just because it is a waste of time for everybody who showed up on time if we're then having to go and, try to pull somebody out of the weeds.
Yeah. A lot of times this comes down to people that are scheduled people versus non-scheduled people. But look, a lot of us, we have busy lives, we have families, we need to pick a time of the night that works for us to raid. And we can't have people clogging up those spots if they're just not serious about it, because this may be the only time that Max can raid, right? And if other people are signing up, taking spots, and then not serious about it, and then they don't show up, and then a raid doesn't come together, or you're scrambling to pull one together, and that's kind of sucks for the person that's scheduled it a whole week in advance, because that's the only time they can raid. We're not trying to be mean, just bottom line, TLDR, all you have to do is just take it a little bit seriously. We have fun when we're in the raids, but like, if you can't make it, no matter what spot you signed up as, just remove your name from the list as soon as you know. Simple as that.
And just another aspect of that, the wait list and the reserves. I mean, we can only take 6 people into the raid. And this is something that Zombie and I have actually looked at, is there for a while we had enough people signing up for wait list and reserve that we could almost put together a second group at that time. And I would have loved to have been able to go and split up and do a second group, get people in there. But, it's that whole thing is, if it's a time you can make, sign up, show up, and maybe there isn't room in the raid, but there'll be 3 people online ready to do something, and you can go hit a dungeon, or, show us this is a time slot that works for you. And if we get enough people there, we can split into 2. It's a great way for us to go and see how much interest there is.
Yep.
Always awesome when we can split it 2. I've seen it happen. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Ronin, you've been quiet. I want to make sure we weren't talking over you. Do you have anything you want to add before we move on?
Yeah, just to build on what Kate said earlier about adding a little bit of a disclaimer or requirement to her raid postings. This goes both ways. If you're posting an event, I would say be honest about your expectations. If you just post an event that says this raid, then you're going to draw people that are looking for loot. You're going to draw people that might be looking to complete a triumph. You might draw people in that are just wanting to hang out because they're free that night. If you're specific about what you're looking for, like if you are trying to work on something serious, be sure to include that. If you need something, if you've had trouble finding a team to run, say, an older activity, because a lot of players have gotten past that at this point, and you think, oh, well, I might be imposing if I, request this. Just post it. Just say, hey, I want to run this old raid. I've never done it before. And, if you're clear about your intentions, then you'll find that players are going to respond to that. The other side of that coin is, if you see that someone has posted something intentional, be sure to honor that. If they say, hey, I'm working on this triumph, don't just sign up because you're free that night and you don't care what you do. You should. Well, when every event is created, it creates a chat thread that you can, have a chat in before the event even starts, right? It's, just on Discord. And so you can talk in that thread without even joining the event, right?
You can.
Sure
you
can.
have to know how to get in there, but you can, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so you can ask, hey, I'm not at this stage of the quest, but is it okay if I do this raid? Or, hey, I've never done this before, and I see you guys are trying to get do a triumph or something like that, but I'm a pretty skilled player. Would you mind if I join? Like that interaction can really help, make sure that everybody has the same expectations. Because I see that's where a lot of frustration happens, is when teams have totally different expectations of what they're going to get out of the night.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Appreciate that. It was your topic, Kingsley.
Then,
go ahead. Go ahead, Ronin. You have one more thing to say?
Yeah, and this is just a lighter thing, but yeah, going back to what Kingsley was saying earlier about the chat channel etiquette.
Yes.
It's kind of funny. I describe myself as more of a legislative mod. I don't do a lot of like policing on the forums or anything like that. I'm more, kind of on the back end, helping set up activities and whatnot. But one of the few actions I've had to take, and I've done this several times recently, is disconnect people from voice chat that I see they were playing last night and they left themselves connected to it overnight. And I come in, the morning and I see, oh, they're still there. They probably just fell asleep or forgot to disconnect from it. And so, just be mindful of that is the advice I'd have.
We always figure someone passed out.
We can actually make a AFK channel, like set it to like an hour. A lot of Discords will do that, where someone doesn't talk for a long time. It just puts them in another channel that says that they're not available. because they probably fall asleep.
We have so many tools in this Discord that half of them I don't even know how to use. So I'm glad Kingsley's helping me with some of the technical aspects of it. But JD Kent with a 10-month subscription. Thank you, brother. We appreciate you. It goes straight to our community. Any last words, Kingsley, before we move on?
Last words, have fun. If you're not sure, ask a mod on something, especially anything with the scheduling bot system. Feel free and DM me, and we will help you through it.
Excellent. Yeah, we want a game with you guys. So there's just, a lot of people just don't have a lot of experience with it. And that's why I'm glad you talked about it tonight, Kingsley. So everybody's on the same page now. So it's perfect. Okay. Yeah, we're going to take a small break here, take a breath from our topics, and we're going to get into our Destiny Roundup segment, and that will be me right after this. It is our Destiny segment of our show. We have it every week. It's kind of an homage to our roots as a Destiny podcast. We check in with Bungie, see what's new, if anything, with Destiny 2. So here we go. The first thing I want to address is there was a rumor been flying around the community that speculated. It was from an Astacross live stream where Cross had mentioned that he knew of a Marathon developer that was coming back to Destiny 2 to help create future content. He also alluded that this developer was the person behind Vault of Glass, and as most of you know, that's Mr. Luke Smith. So a YouTube content creator, Avaze, made a video speculating just that Luke Smith is coming back to maybe work on a Destiny 3. Well, Astacross did respond to this video in another stream of his and said, no, it's not Luke Smith. Luke Smith's not coming back to Destiny 2. I don't know where Luke Smith is. He doesn't even have a social media following these days. But he didn't want to name anybody, but he said there is someone that was behind, a big developer behind Vault of Glass that did come back from Marathon and is working on Destiny 2 now. And so I guess the mystery continues. I guess we'll figure out maybe in a Vidoc down the road or something. I don't know, who knows, but just want to mention that. Bungie also showed another promo video, and this time it was about the Assassin shell. It looked pretty good. They're really good at creating cinematic trailers. They're so damn good at it. It was the Marathon YouTube channel if you want to watch that short video. It's like a minute and a half. It's not very long at all. Marathon did also tweet out that they will have a ranked player system that will be used in Marathon when it launches in March. The details are still a little speculative at this point, but I'm sure Bungie will elaborate further as we get closer to launch day. Now, as we get into this week in Destiny, as Kingsley and I both discussed, they put it out at the very, very last minute, it seemed, today. They were having problems with a lot of people logging on. A lot of the website, the Destiny app was down today. I don't know if the API was in a mess or whatever, but they really didn't mention a lot in the TWAB this week, other than they have this Tharsis Threads fashion show they're putting on. And if you're interested in getting involved with that, they list a whole list of rules. There's an emblem you can get, and you basically are showing off your Tharsis threads, the threads that you're getting from the Lawless Frontier. So they did also want to congratulate that they got a lot of the Dark Age Hunt challengers that did upload their full completions using basically sticks and stones, a bow, a sword, or a glaive. And Kingsley, we were right. They give everybody this banner, this Movie of the Week banner that uploaded it. And I guess they're saying that they're confirming everything, making sure it's all right. They're going to have that, of course, that emblem, that torch emblem. They're going to be sending all that out to people who did get it completed. I'm sorry, I was not one of those people. The double invasion test, they're still working on that. That's still going to be out for another week. The new player guide added a world screen. I guess they added another paragraph, Kingsley. And then the Game to Give 2026 recap. I just wanted to congratulate everyone who participated in that. They raised nearly $2 million for that campaign, which is outstanding. I mean, the Bungie community, they always come around. So other than that is all I have on Destiny 2 and Bungie this week. Is there anybody who wanted to comment on what I just talked about before we move on?
Actually, yeah. I think it's a very meta, very specific discussion on all this Luke Smith stuff, but he was actually even game lead at one point, but I think there was a lot of miscommunication going on when people use words like lead designer and stuff like that. Because yes, he was a lead designer in Vaulted Glass, but he wasn't the lead of the whole project. And that's what Aster Cross was trying to clarify later on. And there's a lot of confusion in gaming. We forget that there's so many teams and management and stuff. There's leads of a team that may not even be working on the project. Then there's game directors. Then there's managers of the gaming division. Then there's like directors above that. And then there's like CEOs of companies. And so we have to remember, like, Luke Smith had a big name in Destiny, but in a way he wasn't as big as people think. And so you have to remember there's leads above leads even at times. So it was just all this miscommunication where I was really interested in this story too, because Aster Cross did also say it was someone coming from Marathon, and Luke Smith was not working on Marathon.
He was gone.
And it's not even that big of a deal of people coming from Marathon over to Destiny, because the work on Marathon's done, other than the live service stuff that's going to keep going. They're just doing their marketing for promotion now coming up. Like, they can only do last minute tweaks and fixes. All the main development is done at this point. So of course some people, not everyone, some people will be coming back over. And to think that just because someone's coming from Marathon to Destiny, I guess because there was the rumor that was the name Luke Smith, but regardless who it was, Luke Smith or not, that does not necessarily mean Destiny 3 just in itself, or that Destiny is all of a sudden so much better just because someone's coming over from Marathon.
Right.
So be realistic, people. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and I want to reiterate that there's not a whole lot going on in Destiny 2 right now, but this segment will be in our show every week. So when there is something going on in Destiny, we're definitely going to talk about it every week like we normally have. If you want to know, just an aside here, if you want to know like the daily resets for the next week coming up, or every little detail of the TWAB, we have a sister podcast. Well, friends, I guess, community podcast called Two Titans and a Hunter. They spell out every ounce, every detail of what's going on in Destiny every week. So if you're missing that, where you want to know everything, you want to know what the weapon is for next week or whatever, Night Demon and Parody do such a great job over there. So I just want to give them a quick shout out. They've been doing podcasting longer than we have. Not much longer, but a little bit longer. So I just want to mention that as well. One thing I did want to mention too, is that Joe Ziegler actually answered some questions from some tweets today, and there is a lot of PvE that they're going to be introducing into Marathon. So my antenna have been raised, and I'm really curious how they're going to express that through this PvP only game, pretty much PvEVP game. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see as we get closer to launch, what that's going to entail. But that's it. That's it for the Destiny Roundup segment tonight. So we're going to move on to our third topic, and we're going to warm up the engines and get ready to do that right after this. Hey, Guardians, if you would like to ask us a question for the show, head over to guardiandowncast.com to send us a voicemail or email us with your question. However, the best way to send us a question is to write it out in our podcast questions channel in our Discord community. You can access it on the Discord app on your phone or on the web. It's discord.gg/Guardian Downcast. Don't think about it. Just do it. Do it right now. The links are in our show notes. Later, Guardians. All right, Kate, it is your turn. We're all caught up on Destiny this week, so I'm going to turn the talking stick over to you, and I'm going to be quiet and let you talk now. So what do you got for us what'd you bring to the table this week, Kate?
Well, what I have is just kind of a quick look, something, this is a discussion point, kind of how we see future of gaming and us in it. It kind of brought to mind, a couple weeks ago, you mentioned how the gaming generation, we're older, we've got a little more money, a little more disposable income. So that's affecting how gaming companies view us and what games are coming out. But there's also another side of this. Now, I know you've only been legal to drink for about 2 weeks now, and the rest of us are barely legal. So, but the question is, the gaming generation, we are getting older. What happens when we get past where we're no longer in our prime? We're we're retirement age, we're moving beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Nursing homes, adult, assisted living centers. Right now, they're getting that influence of the boomer generation. And, you sit there and you can look online at the different services they offer. They have a gaming room, but their gaming rooms are set up for poker or pinochle or board games.
Backgammon.
Exactly. Because those are the games that generation grew up with. Mm-hmm. They have their TV rooms. Yep. They'll have their meeting rooms where they get together with their book clubs. The buses that go to the library or the mall or whatever is in your area. But what happens when the generation that are there now are gone and we're moving in, in our generation that's sitting here with our PlayStations and computers, and we're at the point where we need that kind of assisted living. Now, I know we all want to think that, we're going to go out in a flash of glory. We're going to be gaming in our home, comfortable lives forever. Get, sit there and get downloaded into the Ark and just have virtual lives from here on out.
Right.
Until that final disconnection, comes and we no longer log in. But, that's kind of my thing. What are we looking at? Because if you go and try to go and look at the future of nursing homes, you hear that there's all these nursing shortages. Well, that doesn't help those of us who are going to be residents because, more power to the people that can go and work that field. It's not me. And I'm sure that we've got a few people that will hear this that can chime in and say, this is what we've seen changing, or this is how our different facilities are trying to adapt. But my question is, what are you going to be looking at? What is it that we ourselves are going to want once we get to that point?
When you mentioned, Kate, that you're going to talk about this week, I'm so glad you did, because this is something we really, some of us are much younger that don't even, think they're going to live forever, and they don't really think about that. But lately, I've been exposed to this. I mean, not only the fact that I have, zombie pops can probably relate here, that I've actually treated and done pest control contracts for big assisted living complexes. So I go in these people's houses and, and I see how they live and stuff. But also I'm dealing with it with my mother-in-law right now. She's got really bad dementia and she's in a memory care facility. And I'll be honest, Kate, it's depressing. I go in there and everybody is so drugged up that they're just in their wheelchair and their seat at the table, that there's a TV on with some news maybe going on or something. And they're just all just sitting around, not doing anything. I'm like, this is not going to be me, man. I'll have my Oculus on or whatever. I mean, like I've said it before, we are, as Gen X, we're going to be the first senior citizen gaming community. And I cannot wait, man. It's going to be so much fun. I'm so looking forward to what the future brings as far as gaming. And like you said, we're making a little more disposable income now. A lot of younger people right now are raising families and, they're up against it. My kids are both up against it with expenses and stuff, trying to start a life. But for us that are a little older, we can invest in a lot of this tech gear and really start enjoying the, being older and not retired exactly. But I mean, we have some people in our Discord that are retired or close to retirement. And I don't think TVs will be a thing by the time we're in retirement homes and stuff. I think everything is going to be virtual. I can see residents sitting around with some kind of either, whether it's glasses or a full virtual reality headset or whatever. I think it's going to be something like that, where everyone's going to be in their own little world. And I think if anything, that'll make it easier. I try to be so nice when I'm at my mother-in-law's retirement home, because I see what they have to deal with all day long. It is the hardest job, Kate. It is the hardest job because a lot of these people don't have, or their memory is faltering and stuff. And if there's somewhere they could escape and keep themselves busy and keep their mind working, that's going to be only a good thing, in my opinion. But I'm curious what the rest of the table thinks.
Well, I have a question for you real quick, Todd, before we go and toss this. Netflix show series Black Mirror. Have you ever watched it?
Yes,
heard of it?
I love that show.
they actually have an episode that is exactly that. You know, all the old folks, they sit down and they plug in to this virtual world.
Right.
You know, they get like a certain number of hours per day.
Right.
Until they decide to upload themselves permanently. And it's just, on one hand, the idea of having a world like that, it's fascinating, but also terrifies me.
Okay.
Just because you never know.
Well, that's true. And, not everyone can wear virtual reality gear, but I mean, I figured they'll have it probably worked out by then. JD Kent says, hopefully we'll adapt like Japan. Check out some videos of the senior homes playing Mortal Kombat tournaments. Hell yeah. I'd love to see that, man. Hell yeah. Yeah. What's the rest of the table think about this?
So I think a lot of it, if we just take a step back, really depends on, there's different versions of nursing homes, right? There's the ones that are like the retirement where people still have abilities. And then when you're mentioning Todd, everyone drugged up, well, that's generally people that are just really old anyways. Drugged or not, they just don't have much physical capabilities anymore to do stuff.
Yeah. We're talking more assisted living.
Already, already though, I see quite old people playing games on their phones already. This is not a thing that we have to wait for. You say Gen X, no, even older, there is people, now it's a little less often to have like a PC or an Xbox or PlayStation, but if we're just talking gaming and video gaming, technically the phones count too. And what works really good there is typically also with phone gaming, it's a little easier for any ability, like young, old, whatever. You're just tapping things on the screen. You're not having to have like full hand movement on a controller or something like that. Right. Now, I do think there will be more though for the people that have not lost full physical ability. Of course, there's going to be, as we get up in age, more and more where people want to have a computer in their assisted living or retirement community or a PlayStation or an Xbox. And so what I see there is just, again, taking a step back, is they really need to make the internet better in these places. It sounds funny, but this is still a huge issue where I hear this every day, where assisted living facilities, like the Wi-Fi is horrendous. They don't want to invest money in it. They want to have it just barely work where you can maybe pull up some pages on your phone. But if you were going to try to do like gaming, like even Destiny or whatever, you would not have a good experience. Yeah. So that's what they need to work on is have much better internet. Then maybe the next level is expect people to be bringing in their own systems. I don't know if we'll see like community systems. I know already like that's such a pain because sometimes even like doctors' offices or dental offices or schools in a gaming room try to do that, but they just get so much abuse and they break easily and stuff. I think it's still probably smarter to have systems that people have on their own. And then, you can play with your friends in the assisted facility, but you're all each in your rooms and you're talking through headsets, right? Right. So as long as you have the ability to do that and good internet, then I think that's that. And then, of course, if we get newer technologies down the road, VR, better, like plug into the matrix type of stuff, then that's a different discussion. But just on a practical sense, boring, but they need to fix the internet, these places.
I was just listening to a podcast. I don't know, I can't remember what it was about, but the expert on the podcast said that senior citizens are more addicted to their phones than Gen Alphas are. They are, and I gotta hold my hand up.
That's true. Yeah,
because my mother-in-law, when we picked her up before she started having the falls and stuff, she would not. When we brought her and put her in her car to take her somewhere to eat, she wouldn't even look up, man. She's watching crying baby videos, and YouTube was her thing, man. And she was just, it was like video after video, and I'm like, what is that crying noise? I look behind, and she's sitting there laughing at these babies crying. Anyway, so I 100% agree. I think senior citizens today are very addicted to their phones. They're loving that, and they may not be tech savvy, but they're figuring it out and they're loving it. So, I want to give some of the other guys a chance to talk here. Ronan, you got any comments on this?
Real quick, Deadpool in the chat.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. It says that in some places they let them get their own internet, and that is awesome. I do know that some places to do that, and that's the way to go too. But if you're going to have company provided internet, they need to get that better. Okay, go ahead, Ronan.
So something that both of you touched on is that these control interfaces are adapting and evolving too. And I think accessibility is going to be the biggest thing. But rather than something that makes you more sedentary, I think there's going to be improvements in motion controls that are going to be a boon to, people that are, say, well, like if you enjoyed bowling when you were younger, to bring that analogy up again. One thing that was very popular when it came out was Wii Bowling, because Nintendo, I mean, they've got a lock on the motion control interface. They are one of the few companies that really focused on that, and that set them apart in a lot of ways from your PC and console games. But they fill that niche where it gets people up, it gets people active. There's another game called Ring Fit Adventure where you just hold up a lightweight ring that your controllers plug into, and you play through what's essentially an RPG just by controlling it. And it makes you do things like sit-ups and balance and yoga poses, and you can kind of pick the workout that you're capable of doing. But yeah, so that keeps the blood flowing, keeps you healthy, moving. And I think that accessibility is the word that kind of sums all this up. And I'm curious what the interfaces are going to be in the future, because you mentioned like VR headsets, and rather than sitting and looking at your phone, I think there's going to be something that's more active and possibly more like group active too. A shared system, people playing in the same room, and passing the controller and just getting up and moving, which that also has the benefit of social connection.
Right. That's big.
And, and both locally and, if you're in assisted living or, away from, say, your kids or other family members, you want to maintain those connections. And that's why the internet thing is such a big part of this. I saw some mention of families that set up their own private Minecraft server. And so everybody can get together and, they'll play a lighter game that's not really drawing their attention too much, but they can keep in contact. They can talk. They just stay active that way. And so, and that was one of the biggest things was maintaining those personal connections.
Yeah. I tell you,
but as far as, go ahead.
No, I was just going to mention something on your point you were making about the headsets and stuff in the homes. I could see a whole industry, especially as us Gen Xers start getting older, that have gamed in the past, because a lot of boomers haven't gamed. My dad doesn't know anything about gaming. And he's 80 now. And I think I could see a whole industry coming out with devices that, like you said, if you have problems with dexterity or you have, you can't use your parts of your body that you used to, I think there's going to be whole industries made on this part right here, because we're not going to give up gaming. As Gen Xers, we're going to just keep going forward. And I could see a whole industry being built on what you just talked about there with the accessibility. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, just my last point on this is I found a Reddit thread where it was the topic was, hey, I'm getting older. What are some good games that you can recommend? And it got flooded with dozens, over 100 posts of people saying, I'm 50 plus, 55 plus, 60 plus, and here's the games I play. And these were like current AAA, blockbuster hits, Red Dead Redemption or Diablo. You didn't see a lot of the fast twitch, latest Call of Duty, anything that's, hyper competitive, but there are enjoyable games that people can play, regardless of how fast they're able to keep up with the controls. And even games that are popular among the fast twitch crowd, they have accessibility modes or lower difficulties that you can tailor them to. Say you're just interested in the story. I mean, I've seen that back as far as like Horizon Zero Dawn was the first game I played that had a story mode that was just extremely low difficulty, but it would let you enjoy the story going through it. And so you're, going back to that word accessibility, both in the interfaces and in how the games are set up, I think they're taking into account that, the people making games now are the same ones that grew up playing them, like us. And so they're going to be considerate of their target audience and not just cater to, sweatier competitive players. There is a market for that, and there are games that fit that vein. But I think that we're going to see a lot more evolution in that side of things, the accessibility. It's going to keep up.
I'm just waiting for that multi-directional treadmill to be lower in price, and I'll be on it. Because, I mean, you saw Ready Player One. There was a multi-directional. They actually make those, by the way, but they don't. The problem with the technology is it's not syncing up. It's not getting accepted by the gaming community yet, and it's very clunky still, but I'm telling you, they'll get there. And movement is so important, man. I was watching a Diary of a CEO on YouTube just tonight, and they were talking about how lack of movement, if you have one bad night where you do not sleep and you get poor sleep, it adds 4% to cognitive decline in the brain. That's just one night. But they said you can erase that just by having movement every day. Not just like the 30 minutes of cardio a day. They're talking about every hour that you sit to get up and do air squats. If you do 10 air squats every hour that you're sitting at a desk, it eliminates, it's just as good as, it eliminates the problem with sedentary lifestyles today. And the thing about my mother-in-law is she just sleeps in bed all day. If she had something there that could stimulate her mentally to plug into an environment or even just explore a discovery game or something that would open her horizons, because there's nothing else there for her to do other than to stare at a clock and a calendar. It's just so sad, man. There's got to be a better way. So, anybody else have comments?
I was just going to say, you're saying how the boomers are addicted to their phones. And I'm sitting here laughing because my dad, he's mid-70s, he does more online shopping than I do. And it is the funniest thing. It's every time I go over there, he's got all these empty boxes.
Yeah.
And he's not a gamer.
Yeah.
I mean, I did start gaming because of him. We did have games in the house. But he's not a gamer the way we are gamers. He played, a lot of the strategy games and so on, but his computer will go weeks without being turned on because that's not his thing. And it is just so funny. I mean, I don't want to think about having to put him in a assisted living at some point. But I also know that his needs, should he get in there, are going to be so vastly different than what mine will be. Just because different lifestyle, different generation, different hobbies.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
I'm just hoping that the facilities can keep up with it.
Like I said, I really think there'll be a company that will create a whole new industry just for accessibility gaming. I think it'll be there. I think it'll be there, especially as more of us that used to game in our youth are moving into these facilities, So, anything else? Because I'm jonesing to talk about my topic. I'm so excited.
Jeez, go for it. You're excited.
I'm so excited. I've been wanting to talk about this for like a month. But thank you, Alekate. That was a great topic. That's what I love, man. Everybody, I don't coach anybody on what they bring to the show. I just say, just think about it. Think about something you've always wanted to talk about. And Alekate, that's a great topic. So thank you for bringing that to the table tonight. We appreciate it. Good topics, everybody. Really good so far. All right. I'm the last on the list. The topic number 4 is next. As we wind down to our last topic tonight, I have something I've been wanting to talk about that has been on my mind for over a month now. There has been many gaming studios in the past that have tried to replicate Destiny's live service model and failed miserably. A few include The Day Before, which launched in late 2023. It closed shortly in January of 2024. It had massive hype, but launched very broken, and the developer studio immediately closed as well. Foam Stars was launched by Square Enix in February of 2024. It was a shooter game, lost 95% of its audience only 2 months later. There's another game called Multiverses, which was launched and then relaunched trying to rework the game in 2024. It lost its entire player base by May of 2025. Other mentions include Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, lost 92% of its player base. X-Defiant, Ubisoft calling it its Call of Duty killer, saw a massive initial surge but failed to retain the players due to technical issues, and it was shut down in June of 2025. Skull and Bones Kingsley, talking about your game, after years of development hell, launched to
Not my game.
It launched to lukewarm reviews and struggled, citing repetitive gameplay and lack of depth. And of course, who can forget Concord, the game that was launched and then canceled within 14 days after an abysmal player count. In all fairness, we have to also mention year 12 of the Destiny franchise, which has slowly bled players every season to what is now the lowest players we've ever seen with Bungie. Battlefield 6, which was they also just announced they set new sales records for the franchise this year. It's lost 90% of its player base as of now. Borderlands 4, after its biggest launch in franchise history, has also seen significant declines in the player base. It peaked in September 2025 of nearly 305,000 players, and today has an average player base of about 5,000 players. So after sharing that exhaustive list of all these live service failures, why would any studio in their right mind want to roll the dice and enter this market? Well, there is one such studio that seems to have cracked the live service code, and that studio is Embark. The creators of Arc Raiders have a peak player count of 3.2 million players at launch across all the platforms. They've sold over 15 million copies of the game to boot. On Steam alone, this game has a player retention rate of 91% and sits currently at about 240K players on Steam alone. So I wanted to know, what the heck was Embark doing that other studios had failed to achieve? Well, I did some research, and here are a few reasons why this game is still going so strong. The first thing I discovered was that Embark Studios has focused on the player versus the investors. What a concept! Hopefully you can detect my sarcasm here. It has what it calls a community secret. The key ingredient to them is people playing together and forming a community. I mean, wow, I just talked about the Destiny 2 clan system last week that needed to be revamped. Anyway, the game, it seems, was built from the ground up to be a social gaming environment with features like proximity chat and what they call emergent interactions that makes every raid feel very different. The second reason I believe this game works is the price point. Instead of the $70 to $100 game, Arc Raiders was just $40. I mean, this seems to come at a good time when the trend in gaming at large right now, the community is spending less money per game. This is a huge advantage against the big giants like EA and Activision. Innovation in matchmaking is something I've heard. I've heard this across a lot of YouTube channels, a lot of content creators out there, that when it comes to Arc Raiders, instead of a flat skill-based system that a lot of competitive shooter games, including Destiny 2, use these days, Embark approaches it differently. They match players in their game according to their propensity for PvP versus PvE. In other words, they respect the play styles of its player base and matches players who prefer looting and cooperation together, and then those players that tend to be more aggressive, and they put these players in a world together by themselves in another lobby. This, I believe, allows gamers to play however way they want to play the game. It's not like any other games that force everyone into one box. So when I heard rumors about this system, I thought, man, this is such a genius way to do matchmaking. I instantly thought about giving it a try, even though I'm not a real big fan of extraction shooters. I think this aspect is what has kept the players coming back every day in this game. Another thing that I found out is that Embark has more ethical monetization system built in, and it creates a type of developer integrity with its players. People have described the game's monetization system as absurdly fair, featuring optional cosmetics and free battle pass they call Raider decks, without constantly annoying pop-ups in-game. You listening, Bungie? Even though the Embark Studio is owned by a monetization-hungry corporation, Nexon, the developers are praised for having a spine and maintaining a player-first philosophy. Are any of the other studios listening right now? One more thing I want, that might also be a factor here is the disgust for big-name publishers out there and how blinded they are when it comes to making games for investors instead of the players. I think this concept is going to blow away the gaming industry's doors. I really do. I mean, heck, did you know that Activision has a patented system designed to manipulate players into spending more through matchmaking? This is crazy. These companies have lost their way. They've lost their way. They're blinded by greed. But that's just my take. I'm just curious what everyone else on the platform, on the table today thinks about this. But I've been very impressed by watching this game online and just the interactions with local proximity chat. I mean, I'll watch videos just to hear what people are going to come up with, how they're going to interact with each other. And it is comical sometimes. It's so entertaining watching this stuff. It's the reason why this Burnt Peanut guy on Twitch just gets 50, 60,000 people tuning into his Arc Raiders streams. It's just fantastic what I'm seeing here. And it kind of reminds me of the way Destiny used to be, how everything was so community driven and how they had so much content created from all the community stuff that was going on in the game. But what do you guys think as Destiny players? I mean, do you think this is the future? Do you think I'm full of shit? I don't know. What do you guys think here? Anybody wants to speak up? Just go ahead.
What's the future? What's the actual question? Sorry.
I mean,
live service games still working or not? What's the question?
Well, am I full of crap here? Is this something? Is Embark going to be just a flash in the pan, and then things are just going to go the way they have always gone, or is this going to be the wave of the future for live service games? The focus on the player, not the investor.
Well, yeah, it's such a nuanced answer I have there. First of all, just like high level picture, the biggest issue we've had, because I think every gaming company is greedy to a point. I'm sure Embark is too. Mm-hmm. So just being greedy alone doesn't mean you can't have a good game.
Right.
But I think we've just had too many live service games in general. That is the bigger issue. And there's just the law of averages and numbers and stuff. First of all, if you have too many live service games, then of course a majority of them are not going to be successful. If you have less, then more of a chance a majority of them will be successful. Also, fatigue. There's too many things to pick from. So I think everyone was jumping on the bandwagon with live service games too much, and we've seen the pullback some. So I think that'll help a lot. Of course, they need to develop things well. There's a lot of games that also do live service well, like The Division and Diablo and stuff like that. And they've actually not lost players over time. If anything, they've stayed stable or gained players over time. They don't have tons of players, but they're not going down like some things are, including Destiny. But live service games, as far as like how they look out for the player, it's a tough mix because you got to make money in a business, and it's okay to have things that you sell in a store. But as long as you're adding enough stuff to keep people interested and listen to stuff like you said, of course, listening to the players. Now, a lot of times games will have like voting boards or things like that where you can pick,
right,
and the votes they get the most. It doesn't mean they're going to promise they're going to bring into the game, but those are the highest consideration of things that they'll bring into the game. That's a good idea. But I do think we need to scale back on live service games. It's becoming a little crazy. The ones that are around and doing okay should stay around. But I think you starting up a new game, you don't want to do live service just because, single player games are perfectly great also.
And I even mentioned this, Kingsley, on my State of the Game story I did on a past roundtable show, how the gaming industry has changed. We're not the customers anymore. It's the investors. It's the investors in the stock price. We're who they are making games for. I mean, they're making games for the investors. It's all about trying to get every little penny out of each player very efficiently. I mean, I just mentioned it with the Activision having a certain matchmaking element where you have to pay to play. It's crazy. Alekate.
I like what Zombie said. Yeah, and then we'll pass it over. I like what Zombie said in the chat. I think it's because everyone sets the greed standard so high. It doesn't take a whole lot for us to be impressed.
Very true.
By a less greedy company.
But I mean,
it doesn't mean the other company's not greedy too. It just means that they're doing things a little bit better.
You have to think that Nexon has probably put pressure on. They see the numbers of people playing this game that they own, and they're probably trying to put pressure on Embark Studios to to create more monetization programs and more pop-ups and stuff like that. And I love Embark Studios because there is a gentleman who used to run all the Battlefield 4 franchise for DICE, who left DICE and is the head of this company. And I'll probably look it up here in a second, but I've been very impressed with this studio and what they've done. The finals, I was okay with finals, but that finals was really geared toward that fast twitch, very competitive player. But I'm really liking what I'm seeing with Arc Raiders. So, Alekate, Ronin, you guys have an opinion on this?
I'm going to be honest, I haven't played Arc Raiders, so I don't have
That's fine.
An opinion on it as to how it compares to others. I know there's other live service games out there that have been out there for years, longer than Destiny. World of Warcraft, it's been out for 20, 30 years now. And they have said from the beginning, the only thing that will kill Warcraft is Warcraft. It's when they get too greedy or piss off their player base enough. That is the only game that's going to go and kick it off the line. It's not going to be other games pulling their players. It's going to be when the studio stops responding to their players.
Mm-hmm.
Very true on that, yeah.
Well, one thing that struck me, and I'm with Kate on this, I haven't played Arc Raiders. I watched a few videos about it just to try and get a feel for how the game works.
Yeah.
And it, several of the pitfalls that you mentioned earlier about games releasing with bugs or monetization models or, feeling like the developers aren't responding to players. It seems to have avoided a lot of those big mistakes that have done in the games that haven't continued to be successful. But one point that I wrote down here is you can tell the difference when a product is made with enthusiasm versus made to meet a deadline.
Bungie.
And that's across the board. If it's a movie, if it's a plate of food, if the person or team preparing it was invested in doing a good job, then that's going to show in the final product, and people are going to respond to that, and they're going to tell their friends, "Oh, this was so great." And that was one thing that struck me about reading some interviews with like the development staff on Arc Raiders. One point that I saw in those was that they, I guess, had considered a free-to-play model, but chose to make it a paid game instead.
Right.
So the design team could focus on content over cosmetics.
Right. I mean, $40, Ronin, and free battle pass.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's very generous already right there.
Yeah, and comparing to Destiny seasons, like some of the most successful expansions or seasons that Destiny has released have been the ones that were delayed because they had that little more time to put the polish on it.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that players responded best to.
Very true. I really see the future in gaming now that a lot of investors have shaken off the COVID years where everyone was jumping in online games, and these gaming studios saw all this demand and started hiring all these people, and now you're seeing the fallout where they're shedding all these extra workers to kind of get into an equilibrium with where the industry is today, because the gaming industry is steady as heck, but it's starting to reach its peak and it's starting to come down and equal out, which I showed in those graphs on one of my prior roundtable episodes a while ago. And I really think the games that are I think gaming studios are going to have to go back and do what they did in the olden days. And that was make games that they love to play and that they think their player base is going to love to play. Not worrying about structuring in the pop-ups every weekly reset or something directing them to the Eververse store or get your free. Oh my God, Call of Duty's is the worst. They're always promoting crap and it just clutters your screen. It's so bad. It's almost as bad as banner ads in the 90s, man. It's just so bad. But I really think studios are going to have to start taking note at what Embark's doing here. And I think all of these studios can make plenty of money and not have to worry about getting every red cent out of every player that plays their game. And everybody hoped that free to play was the way to go. Because you're going to have the poor people, the people that are young and don't have much money, and they get fun, they have fun, but they don't have all the cosmetics to show off to their friends and stuff, and maybe it'll force them to spend more money. And you've heard the nightmares of young kids with credit cards dropping $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 on all these cosmetics in these games. It's really disturbing with this free-to-play model. But I really think they're onto something here. I just really think that I think everyone's going to take notice. Oh God, I hope everyone's going to take notice at how popular this game is. And if you look, like I said, I mentioned all the current releases here that we all were wanting to play. There were shooter games that were like a rocket. They went off with a grand blaze of glory, and then they fizzled down once the systems weren't in place anymore to support their players. I mean, Battlefield 6 boggles my mind because 90%, I would have never expected a 90% drop in Battlefield 6 because Battlefield players are hardcore players, man. We used to play Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 without any monetization involved at all. We used to play for years in these environments, and we'd meet up with our friends every night. We'd have our squads and our teams, and we'd just go crazy. But I'm trying to figure out why Battlefield 6 has lost so many players. And all I can figure is I know part of the reason is they tried to become Call of Duty with this battle royale that they threw in the mix. And it's like they threw everything at the wall to see what would stick. And I think players just said, we've been here and done this. And it's all about getting these cosmetics and stuff. And I think people just got tired of it and just moved on to something else. Anyway, I've talked enough. Anybody else have any more comments before we move on?
Not for me.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you listening. Like I said, I'm going to sit back and keep an eye on this and see how this pans out. And we'll see. I mean, I think we're getting into the third or fourth, maybe fifth month this game's been out, still holding strong with its player base. And I think with all games, eventually you're going to lose players because something else comes along that's better. But I want to mention, since we're to this part of the show, my game of the month. Something new that I've added to our podcast format is the game of the month. This is where I play a game for 1 month, which I will stream every either Tuesday or Wednesday live every week, depending on my movie watching schedule for the week and my wife's teaching schedule. And at the beginning of the following month, I'm going to give a short review, kind of like what I do with the movies, of what I thought about it and if I recommend playing it. But it'll be from a perspective of a long-time day one Destiny Guardian. So those of you out there that, quote, only play Destiny, like I have for over 10 years now, I figured it could offer some valuable insight. If not, at a minimum, I've successfully played one of my myriad of games on my backlog library. So either way, it's a win-win for me. So with all that being said, my official game of the month, no surprise, will be Arc Raiders for the month of February. I've watched some streams of the game. I've never set foot in the game world, so this should be real exciting. If you want to join me and try the game out as well through the month as I'm playing it, I'll have a special, in fact, I've already made the channel, I'll have a special Game of the Month channel in our Discord where you can discuss and compare notes from the time that you've been playing in it so far. And I hope you guys give me feedback in that channel as well. But starting this, I think this Wednesday, I'll be playing my very first game of Arc Raiders as Game of the Month. So, okay, we're moving on. We're moving on to our catch-up segment, which we moved at the back end of our show. This is where we'll catch up with everybody's lives and see what's going on. We'll do that right after this. Hey, Guardian, our show runs on Duncan. I mean, it's supported by our community. And by that, I mean our Patreon community. We're nearly 100 strong now. And if you want to join an awesome group of people and get the benefits like a private channel with myself and Kingsleymac and all of our other Patreon members out there, not to mention special badges in our Discord community, years of behind the scenes, special audio and video episodes just for our patrons, and it's really simple. Just go to GuardianDownCast.com and hit that Patreon button to find out more. You can also join us for free, so what do you got to lose? If you've received any value from the show today, keep those corporate sponsors out of our podcast by simply joining our awesome community at patreon.com/support Guardian Downcast. Later, Guardians. All right, before we go tonight, I wanted to go around the table tonight and check in with our guest co-hosts, see what's been going on in their life. and we'll go around the horn here, go around the table, and just see what everyone's been doing, what they've been gaming, what they've been watching, whatever you want to talk about. Ronin, why don't I go to you first, man? What's been going on in your life, man? What have you been up to since we saw you last?
Yeah, just gaming-wise, Destiny's always been the old standby, but I've been playing Helldivers 2. I play several times with like Elmer Fudd and his community over there,
Right.
and that's been just an absolute blast. And also Expedition 33. I took the recommendation to play that from Kingsley way back, and I've been incredibly satisfied with that game. I've already finished the main story, and I tend to do this thing where if there's a game that I really love, I try to platinum that game. And so right now I am one by one going through the triumphs, trying to get the platinum trophy for Expedition 33.
Excellent, man.
Amazing, man.
I'm not going to platinum it. I won't platinum it. But I still need to finish the end of that game. I've
Yeah, you do.
3/4 of the way there, and I didn't get it done. So good deal, man. What else you been doing? How's the jiu-jitsu going? You said you were teaching kids and stuff. Is that going well for you?
Yeah, so this year actually will mark my 20th anniversary of when I first started training in the sport. So I have a plan this year around summertime to go around and visit all of the coaches that I've trained under over this whole, journey, and just to check in with them, let them know how I'm doing. Some of them, may not even know I'm a black belt now, but yeah, just to go visit and thank them for, the contributions they've made in this, because it's been a heck of a journey. And I'm going on almost 3 years now as a black belt, and it's given me a whole new perspective on everything, because you reach that point where you're not concerned about promoting to a next rank anymore, and everything just kind of opens up. And that's where I start learning about things like a flow state, or like, efficiency, using less energy to do the same thing. And, of course, teaching the kids has been an absolute blast. Yeah, the only other thing would be TV wise, we've started, it's an older show, but we've started rewatching it, Psych.
Okay. I remember that show.
I don't know if you guys seen that. It's quirky and hilarious, and it went on for quite a few seasons. But I found out that it had a few movies that came out in the 2020s that I wasn't even aware of. So I'm trying to get caught back up on that, and then get to see those. Pluribus, we just finished that. Kingsley had also took that on a recommendation from Kingsley. That was terrific. Also a little bit behind, but the new season of King of the Hill on Hulu.
Nice.
It picks up right where the old show left off.
Awesome.
And if you want to see what life is like in suburban Texas, that show it nails it 100%.
Nice. I never watched that.
I love it.
I never watched that show, but I'm sure I'm sure there's a million episodes too, but that's the nice thing about the streaming services. You just go watch any season you want. Yeah. I mean, I don't know why I don't watch it, because there's a pest control guy in the damn show. You think I would be drawn to a show like that, but anyway. Well, thanks again for coming on tonight, Ronin. I appreciate you, man. Alekate, we'll go to you. What have you been gaming? What have you been doing? What's been going on?
Oh, well, gaming-wise, like I say, I've got my raids that we run every Wednesday night. Like I say, open to everyone, all skill levels. Every week is a teaching raid. So we're willing, whether people are just learning new positions or learning the raid in general, we're doing that. Outside of Destiny, I've been here recently. I've dropped back into Diablo 4. I'm a big fan of the Diablo series franchise. I've played them all, and this is where I am lacking, in that when Diablo 4 first dropped, I didn't actually complete the campaign. So now I'm having to go back through and redo it all, to actually beat the campaign. And then I may be looking at trying to decide if I want to go and buy the expansion, because it is kind of a good deal right now where you get 2 for the price of 1. But I say not quite there yet.
Very cool.
Yeah, other than that,
It's worth it.
I say Warcraft had a free play weekend this last week, and I hopped back in for a day, and still love that game. Felt the hooks trying to go and pull me in, but I got too much other. I can't lose myself down that sinkhole again. I love the game. It's great, but
I get it. Very nice. Well, thank you again, Alekate, for coming on tonight, man. It's been a blast. I've been loving all the topics you guys have brought so far to the show. So, Mr. Kingsleymac, what's been going on in your life this week, man?
Yeah. I've been playing Diablo a lot too. Just coincidentally started it up again a couple weeks ago. I've always loved the game, but other games, I like moving around to games that are fun. I don't move around as quickly as some people, but I like checking out new things. But since I haven't played it for a while, it is amazing how good of a job they've done of adding and making quality of life things better and having different build variations. And it's just hard to explain, but they've just added so much and it was already really good in the original state. But it's a game that I really, we say this even with like Destiny or other things. I mean, sure, I guess back in the day you could go to a planet and patrol and do a public event for 5-10 minutes, but that's not really so much a thing you're generally going to be doing in Destiny right now, that short. But with Diablo, I really can play it for as short as 5 or 10 minutes if I want. Generally, I don't want to play it for that short, but you can do a little quick, like a dungeon or something in there, just for real quick. And having a lot of fun working with builds and stuff. There's so much to the builds there that you definitely want to go through build guides. I recommend maxroll.gg.
Okay. And
they can just kind of, I guess if you really like trying to figure out a building your own, go for it. But there's so much to a build that going with guides, it doesn't take the fun out of it because there's still so much you have to learn. And to get all those pieces in a build is quite the experience of just putting all the pieces together on that. So having so much fun with Diablo. I'm going to hop into Division a little bit more because there's only 1 week, well, by the time of this show, a few days left of a little AC crossover with some stuff in Division that I want to get some ornaments for. And then there's a lot of Division news coming up. They're doing a lot of stuff in March. I'll be talking about that here soon as we get closer to March. And again, it's their 10-year franchise anniversary, so they have a lot of fun things in the wings. And of course, working on Division 3. And I love, the raid stuff we were doing in Destiny. Always have a lot of fun with our raids on Saturday nights. And,
absolutely.
I didn't do a raid. Yeah, I didn't do a raid last night, but I had a lot of fun just being in a chat, watching them play. And I needed a distraction because this week, unfortunately, we had a dog that had to be euthanized and super old and was going through some health issues, and it got worse. And so the wife and I, made the decision mid last week to kind of pick a day that was good, and we did an in-home service, and it was really nice to be able to do it that way and be a little less stressed about it and stuff. But I'm not as much of an animal person. I mean, it's funny. I grew up with animals, well, more like larger animals. Funny enough, get this, people, I grew up in Southern California, and if you look on the street, it's a very suburban area with houses next to each other, but they were still technically considered horse property lots because we had half-acre backyards so houses close to each other, but long backyards.
Nice. And
with like trails in the back and stuff. And we didn't have horses, but a lot of people around us did, but my parents were into goats. So I raised up, even in the middle kind of city, Southern California area, we had chickens and goats and things like that growing up with. I was like, it wasn't for me so much. Every once in a while we'd have an outdoor cat or dog. But when I met my wife 10 years ago, she came with a dog because she's a huge dog person, and I've grown to love them. And I like cats too. Whenever I go to customers and stuff, they tend to like me for sure. They can
always detect if you're an animal person,
right? Dogs and cats definitely can. Yeah. And I didn't know how I'd feel about the dog passing because I wasn't really a dog person until I had the dog, and it did hit me more than I thought it would. So I had some sad days and nights, up until now, but it is what it is. And luckily we have such a great community and people to talk to and distractions with games and things like that. So
yeah, absolutely.
Just trekking along, fun gaming, and TV wise, not too much going on, except I haven't already mentioned, but I am looking forward to, I just found out that the Muppet Show is coming back.
I heard about that.
Seth Rogen's the producer of it. They're going to have people in there like Maya Rudolph and what's her name? That one singer from Disney. It's on Disney Plus, supposedly.
Okay.
And
that's my next question.
I'll look forward to watching that some.
Very cool. Yeah, anything Seth Rogen touches is gold these days, especially when it comes to comedy.
Yeah.
My God, the show.
Oh, and what do you think is going to happen with the studio? Because what's her name just passed.
Yeah, exactly. They'll have to write her out. What's her name?
They'll
write her out.
Yeah.
That's just, I cannot believe she passed.
I know.
Gosh.
What's her name now? She's like in Best of Show, that funny movie. And of course she was in,
she was, it's on tip
Catherine O'Hara.
Catherine O'Hara, thank you.
Catherine O'Hara, yeah.
Yeah, I cannot believe her. When I heard that, I said, well, my wife said she was, I guess, had an illness. I guess they got the best of her. So just never know, man. Just never know when it's your day. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Thanks,
Catherine O'Hara. Thanks.
Catherine O'Hara. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've lost several dogs. I just lost one just a few months ago before Christmas time. And it's funny. I wasn't actually very attached to this dog. It was more my daughters and my wife. They loved her. And she was just a brute. She was just a big old Rottweiler, mix. And she was just a brute. And she bullied everybody, including us sometimes. But after we brought her to the vet and just, when you see a dog that's helpless like that and can't even hold their own weight up, you really gain empathy for other living creatures, and then it gets guttural, when it comes down to it. So sorry you had to go through that, man. I'm sure a lot of us have had to put down our pets. It's just never fun. That's for sure. We've been kind of gone long this week's show. We had a lot to kind of explain this week, so I'll be brief here. I haven't really got a lot of gaming done this week. I've been so busy. I just released my next episode of my 50 years experience required. It was on 7 more things that I wish I knew when I was younger. I released that, I think, a day or so ago. And I've been getting everything ready for the show with new overlays I had to build from the scratch and just put this new format together and stuff. It's a living thing. It'll probably change and morph a little bit as we get more experience of it in. But I did have one movie review this week. My wife and I saw the latest dark comedy called Send Help. It's starring Rachel McAdams as Linda Little. She's an office employee that was promised a vice president position. She works really hard. She's very good at her job. But when the owner dies, his son takes over, and it's all about the bro culture then. And she is minimized and actually humiliated by this cold new boss. His name is Bradley Preston, but he's played by Dylan O'Brien. He's kind of a newer young actor in the game right now. But there's a plane crash where she and her boss are the only survivors, and it totally changes the narrative, puts the movie on its head. And what happens from there, well, you'll have to see the movie to find out what happens. That's all I'm going to tell you. I really enjoyed this movie. It was first very light, kind of a comedy film, but it got dark really fast toward the middle end, like the halfway point. And it got really jarring, to me at least. My wife was loving it. But I did think it was worth the watch, though, so I give it 3.5 stars. It was a good movie. I think you'll enjoy it if you like plot twist with a touch of some dark elements in the movie as well. 93% is what Rotten Tomatoes gave it, and IMDb gave it a 7.3, so they're pretty much in agreement with me. One other thing I did watch, I did finally finish the season of Fallout, the latest season. I'll tell you what, man, a lot of stuff was revealed in this season, like what the actual experiment in Fallout is. And it's not the vault, by the way. That's not the experiment. It's something else. So I just watched the last episode last night. It's really good. Really, really good. I think they got cleared for a season 3. So I'm looking to see what they do there. Before we go tonight, we don't have a whole lot of time, but I wanted to make sure that we answered at least one question from our community tonight. So I'm going to go through our Discord here real quick and grab a question for the show, and we will go around the horn and answer it the best we can. We'll go with a non-Destiny question. Kind of keep it light tonight. This is from Dadbod Hero, one of our newer members of our community. At what point in life did you realize you're no longer becoming who you thought you'd be? When you look back 20 years from now, what do you hope you were brave enough to prioritize to become the best version of yourself? Man, this guy has some deep questions, let me tell you. Anybody want to answer that first? What point did you realize that you weren't going to be a cop or a lawyer or whatever you thought you were going to be when you were younger? And when you look back 20 years, what do you hope you were brave enough to prioritize to become the best version of yourself? And that's a really good question. Anybody got an answer for that, or want to address it first?
Oh yeah, I got an answer. So the turning point in life. So I actually started out in college thinking that I might pursue a medical degree. There was a pre-med option, and as I got into that and started to realize more what my talents are and what I wanted to do, I dropped that major and refocused on engineering. And then for the 20 years later, what I hope to prioritize, this was actually the easier part of this question to answer. 100%, I want to prioritize my kids. I want them to have opportunities and guidance and love. And I 20 years from now, I want to be able to look back and say I provided all that for them.
Yeah, great answer. Great answer.
Well, for me, the first part of the question is the easier one.
Yeah.
Going up through high school and so on, I was right there. I was on top of the numbers and graduated full plan. I was going to go through, get the whole degree in accounting, CPA. That was going to be my life. Sidetracked, fell in love, got married married active duty military. And then all of a sudden we're moving every 2 years. So the whole going to college, getting any sort of degree kind of went right out the window.
I didn't know that about you.
So, yeah. So I mean, total departure from what I had planned when I was 18. Another 20 years from now, looking back, it's very similar to what Ronin has. I want my kids to have, the opportunities I didn't. I want to support them in doing what they choose to do, so they can have their dreams. Even if my high school dream didn't come true, I want theirs too. And anything I can do to help that, I'm going to.
I like it. Good answer. It's funny you should say that, Kate, because I had the same track. I went to the Fisher School of Accounting after getting my AA degree, and I really loved accounting. I took my basic accounting in my first 2 years of college, and I loved it. I love looking at finance documents and stuff. I was a math nerd already. And I went there and found out really quick, I am not accountant material. Kind of a little different from how you changed courses, but I actually ended up getting my marketing degree because I wanted to have my own business. And I didn't know what I was going to do, though. My dad was a builder. I didn't know what my business was going to be. So I came back home, lived with my parents after college, and for I think about a year, and I just fell into this part-time job with my uncle's pest control company. And it's kind of funny how fate works sometimes, but I really got into that kind of job and realized that, hey, it's not really about the big titles and stuff. It's about what you're happy doing in life. And I really enjoyed what I was doing. And I just, you guys have heard the story. I thought I could do it better. So I got my whatever training I needed to get in to get my apprenticeship done. I got my own license and passed all the state exams and started from scratch. And as far as looking back, I have to mimic what you guys say. I now have a grandson. I have 2 kids that are back to that point where I can remember my wife and I just getting started, and I just want to be there for him and support him. And now that I got a grandchild, I'm actually getting flashbacks to when my kid and my grandson looks just like my son when he was that age. So it's like I'm getting a whole do-over to do it all over again. And back then when my son was growing up, I had a real bad gaming addiction. And there were times when I didn't spend the time I needed to with my kids. And it's kind of a sore subject, but I'm getting a second chance now with my grandson. And that's the coolest thing ever, man. So Kingsley, did you want to answer the question?
Sure. Hopefully this doesn't rub anyone the wrong way. But for me, most of the things in life actually have gone how I expected, as far as, oh, you already deleted it, so I don't remember the second part.
Oh. Well, when you
wait until after I answer.
No, when you look back at yourself. Look back with your best moments.
But I'm focusing on the first part right now.
Right.
When, as far as anything that happened that I was not expected, how I thought my life would go, about 5 years ago, I made more of a decision. It wasn't right for me, but I thought I was going to be like a super, super religious person, even so much as far as like going into like mini leadership positions and things like that. And I don't want to focus on that too much, but it just was not right for me. And I did not ever expect that growing up, because otherwise, I was taught you will do this, from parents and church and family and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I just finally made the decision that was right for me about 5 years ago to step away from all that. And then as far as something that what was the word, be brave enough to prioritize that I can look back on, I think it would be health and nutrition. Brave is an interesting word, and I can kind of vibe with that too. It's not like I don't know the right things or whatever, but maybe I can try to get some more braveness to do what's right there. So,
yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, that's a tough thing to do, man, these days. That's for sure. Well, thanks for answering, frankly, everybody. And if we didn't get to your question this week, we will, like I said, we're running a little late tonight, so we only had a chance to answer one question. But down the road, we'll answer more questions. So just keep putting them in there. Keep putting them in there, and we'll get to them and ask them on the show. Okay, we have one bit of housekeeping to do before we leave tonight. As a celebration of our pilot episode tonight, we're going to have a contest in our Discord community, and here's how it goes. We are going to have a special Destiny contest where you show off your favorite Destiny Guardian looks. And when you do, we're going to enter your gamer tag into a drawing, your Discord gamer tag, into a drawing for a brand new, in the box, Year of Prophecy Collector Edition set. I've kind of teased it a couple episodes back. Keep in mind the game codes are not included in this collector's edition, but it retails for $175 on the official Destiny site. In fact, I want to show you a picture of it here so you know what is involved here in the giveaway. Just going to scroll through the pictures here. There is a fantastic statuette here that I really was thinking about putting on my back shelf here where I keep all my Destiny stuff. But no, we're going to add it to our giveaway. And just scrolling through here, it comes with some coins. It comes with a compass. It's 14 inches high. Just close-ups of it there. Really good detailed work. And it has a collector's coin, it looks like here. This is some kind of compass. I don't know if it's a functioning compass, but this is the size of it. It's as big as a computer. It is a really big box. So it's sealed up. I don't think it's ever been opened. And I want to just give a shout out to Amazing Taco King. He donated this. He's one of our Raid Boss patrons. He donated this for us to give away. He even said I could keep it myself, but no, I want to celebrate our new show style, our new format, and have this, give this away to our community, because it's what it's all about, is our community. So there's a special channel called the Destiny Contest channel in our Discord. It's at the very top of our channel list. And as we see you enter your Guardian, just enter a picture of your Guardian in there. We'll go ahead and put your name on the Wheel of Names. And in our first show in March, we're going to spin the Wheel of Names and award a winner. There's a couple little things you need to know here. There's only one entry per member in our Discord community. And the second thing is we do need to get a shipping address, because our patrons are going to cover all the shipping costs of this. So it's not going to be cheap. So it's a big and heavy. It's a big box. So you know what UPS rates are. You'll understand why. But yeah, you will need to get a shipping address if you do win on the wheel that first week of March. So just want to mention that. That's what it looks like. You can see it's $175 from the Bungie store there. So, yep, that's what we're going to be giving away. I think it's really a cool prize, and I hope a lot of you guys enter it. It'd be really cool to have that Wheel of Names full of all kinds of community members, and looking forward to seeing who wins it in the first week of March. So what'd you think? Do you like the new look and feel of Guardian Down? I will say that I have more guest co-hosts lined up for shows all the way through April already. And I got to say, the response from our community friends that we've asked to be on the show has been outstanding, and I cannot wait to feature more of our community. I did want to mention that every month we'll invite a newer member of our Discord community that has not been on the show, where they can bring their own topic to discuss with us at the table, and also the added bonus of hearing more about them and their gaming story. Not to mention the good old speed run. So if you're interested in being on the show as a new guest, Few things we're looking for. We'd like to see new members active within our community, whether it's joining games within our Discord or even just chatting with us and engaging in our server. So if you think this is for you and have always been curious what we look for when inviting a new guest to the show, now you know. A big shout out to our Patreon community that is nearly 100 strong now. We have bonus content, special roles in our Discord, and even private channels where I can talk to all of our supporters of the show and community. So if you're curious what's involved, you can also join for free just to look around. A shout out to our largest Patreon supporters like our Dungeon Champion patron, Deadpool and Merc, and our Raid Boss patrons like Amazing Taco King, Frostbite, and Jealous. If you enjoyed today's episode and received any value for your time today, be sure to hit that share button and let someone know about our community. And while you're at it, why not just send us a review for our show on Apple and Spotify as well? But send them to guardiandowncast.com for more information. So, for whatever game you're into these days, be sure to take breaks, hydrate, and touch grass. Necromancer.
The path to victory is long, but there's always hope. Fight!
Thank you all so very much for listening. And whether in life or in your game, hey, get your reps in. And later, Guardian.
Overtime. Let's do this.
I want to thank everybody who showed up tonight. This has been a lot of work, a love and passion that I have for this show, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this new format, how we laid it out. I want to thank RoninRedLion, Alekate, of course, my partner in crime, Kingsleymac, for showing up tonight, and really great topics you guys brought to the show tonight, so thank you for that. Just want to give each of you a chance to give a shout-out or anything you want to say before we leave everybody tonight. Ronin, I'll start with you. You got a shout out or anything you want to mention?
Yeah. So, I talked about earlier how this year I'm planning on going and telling a few people thank you for contributions they've made in my journey. I've got a special thank you for a couple members of our community tonight.
Thanks, man.
I looked back at dates. I joined GDC in late 2020, and the first activity I ever made a post for in the Owlbot was in late April of 2021, so about 4 or 5 months later. And I got a couple signups, and it was for master level presage mission. So there were 3 of us, and the 2 signups I got were my first chance to play with the community. We ran the mission, got it done, had a great time. I've got a special thank you to Edifier and Mr. Kingsleymac.
Wow. Look at that.
Thanks. I do not even totally remember that. I do remember loving that mission though. So thank you for mentioning that.
That's awesome. Thank you, Ronin.
I've been paying it forward ever since.
It's great callback. All right, Kate, what is your great callback? What was your first activity? When did you join the Discord? No pressure. No, you can just give a shout out to anybody you like. Don't put you on the spot. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't make me go and look up the date I joined. It was back during Crota.
Good enough.
And I say, actually, running Crota was one of the first things I did with the community. And that's kind of what got me to go and, join the Discord, get to know everybody, and eventually join the clan. I would like to give a shout out to, my regulars, the guys I raid with on Wednesday nights. Y'all are awesome, and I love every night that you show up.
Awesome. Thank you, Alekate. Appreciate you. And thank you again, Mr. Kingsleymac. I will see you next week, sir. And that's it, guys. That is our show. Anything you wanted to say, Kingsley? Any shout out?
No, I'm good. Okay. I mean, I could give a shout out to our Saturday night raid. Everything's awesome with everyone I've played with, but I do love our Saturday group ups.
It is a lot of fun. I look forward to it every week, that's for sure. But yeah, you'll be here next week. I wanted to give them shout outs because they may not be here next week to where they could speak up. So,
yes.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody in our Discord, in our YouTube chat, and our Twitch chat. Everyone hanging out with us tonight. I hope you really enjoy the new format, and we'll get a little smoother with it as we get it under, get some reps in. And speaking of which, remember, as in life or in your game, get your reps in. Later, Guardian. Do you see the podcast questions, guys? I was playing around with channels today. I hope I didn't dismantle it. Do you see it?
It's here.
It's still there.
Oh, sorry. I had it collapsed. Dadgummit.